If you carry a firearm and discharge your weapon in self-defense, you could face hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees and expenses. So carry the protection of CCW Safe, Self-Defense Legal Services membership. Upfront payment of all criminal and civil defense costs with no out-of-pocket for members. Unlimited defense budgets, unmatched legal expertise. Carry the same level of support police officers have. Carry CCW Safe, the highest caliber.
And we are back. I've got my good buddy JJ Carroll with me tonight. Probably the most passionate guy when it comes to the border and child sex trafficking. Good to see you, JJ.
Thanks for having me back on, man. I appreciate you taking the time and let me promote my book and talk about Donald Trump and the border. It's incredible times in America right now, my friend.
Isn't it? Isn't it? I don't remember if I ever mentioned this to you or not, but the purpose of survival dispatch is just really simple: to dispatch information so our fellow Americans and friends of America can survive in these uncertain times. That's everything else that we do is a kind of byproduct, a result of that. So as far as things like your book, your movies, all that stuff, that's our mission. That's what we're trying to do, is make sure we get that information out to people so they know, because so many people don't know, you know?
Yeah, I agree. And I think this is a unique time in history. This is the awakening. We're finding out things every single day. It's like, it's overwhelming, to be honest with you. And I keep prepping myself with, dude, you are shocked at what you're finding out. What can you imagine what you don't know yet? What has not been revealed yet? Can you imagine? I mean, wow. I think this is the age of awakening. I think life as we know it will never be the same. I believe that.
So do I. Absolutely. I personally believe that God saved Donald Trump, not just to save America, but to save the whole world, because we're it, right? We're the firewall between globalism and freedom. We go down, the whole world goes down. And
I agree. Hey, can I ask you something? Because has been something that I'm watching, and I'm just wondering if is it just me? I'm watching Donald Trump, and I don't listen to really what he's saying. I always listen to what he's saying, but I'm really listening to the tone, his cadence, and then his body language. He seems so resolute. Like it's as if he made a decision a year ago. This is what I'm doing. He burnt the bridge behind him. I can never go back. All I can do is go forward. He seems like he's already made those very hard intellectual, emotional, spiritual decisions. And now I'm just, okay, there's step one, there's step two, there's step three. That's how I see him. He's not even emotional. Like, he doesn't get emotional anymore. He tells people, no, you're not gonna do this, but it's even tampered down. It's as if he's just like, I know the end game, and I'm going to get to the end game. And I believe that he's touched by God. I do believe that. I know it might sound crazy to people, but I just believe it.
Doesn't sound crazy at all. I think resolute is a great word, great choice of words, JJ. I'll tell you what, I've got like half a dozen really short videos queued up of Trump being in town here today for the Daytona 500. And when I was watching them, I was thinking to myself, the man has no fear. He's in front of 100,000 plus people at the Speedway here, and he's got his granddaughter. And I'm thinking to myself, how many people who've had multiple attempts on their life, and there's been many more than the two that have been publicized, the guy has no fear. And there's a reason he has no fear, because, as you said, he's on a mission from God. I don't care what anybody says. It doesn't. If it sounds crazy to somebody, well, then they should watch somebody else's podcast and Dispatch News. So, and I know S2 is still messing with his audio. S2, can you hear us? I think you can hear us, but we can't hear you. That's an affirmative. All right. So I'm going to bring up just a handful of really short videos, and then I really want to discuss your book, JJ.
Okay.
Appreciate you sending the PDF, by the way. I had a good look at it, and as per usual, it's a high quality of work, just like your movies. All right. So epic view from inside Air Force One flying over the Daytona 500 moments ago. Fact: no president has ever provided Americans with as much incredible behind-the-scene footage as the Trump administration. 31 seconds. So for people who aren't familiar with the lay of the land, he's actually flying directly over one of the runways for Daytona International Airport. It's kind of on this line of where my cursor's going. We've got another short video queued up, JJ, and it's one of the announcers from the Daytona 500, and they're like, "This is incredible." He's like 800 feet off the ground. He's definitely a showman. And actually, this next one's is 49 seconds. And Juanita Broderick's comment on just listen to these announcers and the crowd and their excitement about President Trump. He's the GOAT. There's no other way to describe him. He is definitely the greatest of all time.
Of the great American race, along with Jeff Gordon, Jamie McMurray, I'm Chris Myers, and nice to have you along with us for this special moment.
I have been to a lot of Daytona 500s, Chris. Never have I felt the excitement and energy. We've had great racing on the track, but we've got the president landing right now. The fans are pumped up. I mean, wow, what a day.
It's one of the most incredible things I've ever seen to see. They said that plane's 800 feet above the racetrack right now by the president of the United States.
He's the Grand Marshal. He'll give the command. Presidents, of course, have attended NASCAR races, Daytona before, but again, the first to give the command for this, the Daytona 500.
Again, like I say, he's sure got a thing for showmanship. And the next one up here, he's in the Beast with his granddaughter. I think Eric and Lara might be in this as well. It's really short. It's 12 seconds. A few years back, JJ, Richard Petty has a thing. Well, they call it the Richard Petty driving school at the Speedway, and I got it for my wife for her birthday. My wife used to race dirt track down in New Smyrna Beach, and it was funny as heck, JJ. They take you around once with a professional driver, and then they give the car to you. And so she got a headset back up to the tower and everything. And they're saying, don't worry, if you get in trouble, we'll throttle you back from here. We have remote control and everything. My wife jumps in the car and she puts it right to the mat. and they're in her ear. They're like, slow down. And she could hear everything they're saying. And she's going, I can't hear you. You're breaking up. And I think she got up to something like 150 mile an hour. Coming out of the pits, and they throttled her back to something like 140. It was pretty funny. They definitely didn't let her get up to 200 miles an hour.
Yeah, that's great.
So I next one, again, I got a couple of these queued up before we get into your stuff, but this is not Donald Trump speaking. Okay. This is Sean Farish. It's funny as heck though, 1 minute, 21 seconds. And it's a spoof, but the full audio of Trump's message to the Daytona 500 has been revealed. This is some classic stuff.
And Mr. President, the radio is yours.
This is your favorite president, and I just want to say this is the only time you're ever going to see me going around and around in circles. I happen to do a tremendous job, and our last president, he used to go around and around in circles like nobody's ever seen before. He used to get lost. Then you had Jen Psaki. She went around and around. She circled back. Circled back. But you're all tremendous and talented people. I don't know how the hell you do it, 500 miles, and you don't go to the bathroom. Meanwhile, you had Crooked Joe. He went to the Vatican, and before he'd make a pit stop, he dropped a deuce. So he'd never be able to do what you guys do. You're all great people, and your fans are great people, too. It was the NASCAR fans who came up with Let's Go Brandon. They were chanting something. We don't know what they were saying, and a lot of people still feel that way. But I'm back. I'm your president, and unfortunately, I can't win the race today. I've got work to do. If I stayed on the track, we all know that I'd be the winner, but we have a country to save. So may the best racer win. Have a tremendous time, and congratulations to whoever it is who flies that big, beautiful checkered flag.
So he's hilarious. So
he's great.
Shortly after that, he of course he gets out of the Beast and listen to the crowd in this, just like Benny says. It's 1 minute, 1 second.
International Speedway and the France family.
So I noticed JJ was watching the Secret Service guys, and there's no, short people, not big enough to protect them.
Nope.
Looks like they've made some definite improvements there. And then next one up here, this is for the national anthem. Massive cheering for Trump as he's seen saluting the national anthem. I mean, just awesome. The first time I played this, I got goosebumps, JJ. Man, awesome stuff. I just got goosebumps again. Check this out. You can see them on my arm. That's pretty crazy. I got them on both arms. My right arm's even worse. Check this out. Frig. That's pretty awesome.
Well, when he was with his granddaughter, I saw someone post that sometimes you are just a grandpa, right? So he's just a grandpa to that little sweet little girl, and that makes him more real.
Does it ever? We had somebody was upset that Elon had little X in the Oval Office. It was some white liberal reporter, female reporter in that crazy range, like 20 to 40 years old, the ones who take all the SSRIs and whatnot. And he said, can you imagine if a woman came into the Oval Office, with a child on their shoulders? And somebody replied back, maybe, you should stop making up fictional situations, to feel so victimized sort of things.
And there's different roles. And let's get back to God's natural order. It is not normal for a woman to bring her child to work, but it is pretty cool when a father does. And that's just the way it is. And you call it sexist, you call it whatever you want. This is just normal. We're going back to normal. And if you don't like it, then go pound sand. Don't report on the White House anymore, sweetheart. Go do something else. Go bake some brownies. Go do your drugs, whatever you want to do, but just leave us alone.
And this, my friends, is why I love JJ. There's no filter. He's one of the most patriotic men I've ever met. So here's Trump after he got out of the beast, and I've only got one more after this. Then we're
these are great. No, this is great.
There's a longer version with her that's pretty funny because she's tripping over herself over Trump.
But you know what? Okay, just pause it for a second. So you have this woman. She's obviously conservative.
Yes,
she's hot. She's beautiful. Now you superimpose any leftist on TV and you put them there, and they're physically grotesque. They're physically unappealing. They're almost asexual, and they're so disgusting internally that it pours out of them outwardly. Yes. And they just are ugly. And if you ever, I've been doing something lately. I've been kind of really focusing in on the leftist women, the reporters, the talk show hosts. Do this in the next week, just as for giggles for me. Look at their skin, and look at how gray their skin is. They look almost demon possessed, where they're so filled with hatred and disgust. Think about when your whole life revolves around killing kids, mutilating kids' genitals, transition them into Frankensteins. That has to have an outward manifestation of that evil and disgust. Just watch it. I mean, you look at all the Republican women. I mean, go back to the inauguration. Look at the people on the left. They're grotesquely ugly, even the men. Then you look over to the right side, the Republican side. They're gorgeous. They're like, even if they're not physically fit, they still look beautiful because they have very beautiful souls, and it does come out. Yes, they have absolutely.
Hi, JJ.
Good choice of words, that's dude. That's funny.
I got my mic working finally.
Right.
Oh, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing, brother?
Good, man. Good. I think what Trump is doing, and I wrote about this in a couple articles, is he's not a alpha. He is the alpha in the world. When's the last time we had an alpha of the world? Honestly, tell me another man in the world that has more power, has more stamina, and has more say in the world. You can't.
There isn't.
There isn't anybody. And then you go back and say, when's the last time this has happened? Reagan, maybe?
Rocky Balboa.
Yeah. It's incredible. He has brought back masculinity almost overnight. I've never seen anything like this, guys.
Same here. I mean, Reagan was my favorite president for many, many years, but he was not on the same level that Donald Trump is on, number one. Number two, good choice of words on your part, because I've been thinking this to myself lately. These liberal women are so ugly on the inside. It comes through in everything. Mm-hmm. So when you say ugly, it's not necessarily, we're not saying, oh, that's a physically ugly woman, but they become physically ugly because of the internal, just toxic stuff that comes out. We've frequently touched on recently, JJ, get this, India, white women, registered Democrats between the ages of 20 and 40, 62% of them admit to taking SSRIs.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
So that means the real number is probably 82%. Okay. Mm-hmm. And something you've probably noticed, because you're very in tune with stuff and astute, Trump could say something in a speech. He could say, yeah, well, I'm going to run again in 2028. And they'd all furiously be typing rebuttals to it. Look, Trump's a dictator. He says he's not leaving the office. He's going to run a third time. And they have no ability to pick up on humor whatsoever, right?
No.
They never laugh. There's nothing humorous. They're just miserable. And, Donald Trump reportedly is pissed that they tried to kill him a couple times, as he should be. But he doesn't show it outwardly.
No.
But he can joke about it. The three of us can joke about something on our side of the equation. And we always get comments from people, JJ, well, you Republicans, we're not Republicans. Republicans, Democrats are two different sides of the same coin.
Mm-hmm.
We're not Republicans. We are conservative patriots, MAGA, whatever you want to call us, but we're not Republicans.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I was just writing about that as well tonight for the coming week. And I tell people the same thing. Do not confuse Republicans with MAGA. We're like a whole different party. I don't claim Republican. I'm not a Republican. I'm not Lindsey Graham. I'm not Marco Rubio. I'm none of those people. I'm not John Thune. I'm none of those people. I'm Donald Trump MAGA. I'm MAGA. That side, to me, that whole cabal of people are evil. They are traitors to our nation, and we are witnessing treason just through U.S. aid. We haven't gotten into Social Security, education, the true treasury. We haven't gotten through all of that. My God, guys, what are we going to discover in, say, 30 days? 30 days.
JJ, I actually have a good portion of the database that came out of U.S. spending.gov, and the stuff that's in there would just blow your mind that they haven't even touched on yet.
Do you feel as if they're leaking it? Not leaking it. You think they're like I would do on X? I'll go ahead and have like 20 videos I'm going to post and schedule them out. Do you think they're doing the same thing of, okay, we're going to drop these on these days and this on this? And do you think they're that strategic, or they're just saying, screw it?
No, they're very strategic. 100%.
Yeah. Their next target is the IRS.
Yeah, they started out playing checkers, and they're slowly working their way up to 5D chess, because they're boxing them in, and Trump is letting them choke on their own words. He's blocking this, that, and the other thing, which is total bullshit that he's not doing. The other thing is these kids, they started working on these algorithms last year. This is not for the moment thing, right?
No.
And the other side was so confident the information would never be found, because their systems, the software, is not sophisticated enough to uncover this stuff in a broad fashion. but the software that Doge has written to ferret this stuff out is beyond their level of comprehension, and they just can't believe they've been exposed. They ran one algorithm against Medicaid last week and found $100 billion, and that was inside like the first 20 minutes. The algorithm returned.
Isn't that it's crazy?
And some of that was payments to dead people.
Yeah,
Part of that too. Yep.
Here's something else I like to ask you guys. When we start talking about, we're out of the billions now, we're in the trillions.
Mm-hmm.
When you start getting into the T's, I'm starting to think we don't have a deficit. We don't have a deficit. They stole our money and forced us into a deficit. America's not in a deficit. We
Correct.
could find ourselves out of a deficit within 4 years and be in the black. And then finally, why are we paying federal income tax?
Well, here's a doozy for you. Who in the United States is buying gold over in London and repatriating it back into the United States, driving the cost of gold up?
Who?
Don't know. But it's being done.
I saw a Patrick Bet-David clip today, and he was showing the amount of money that was taken in the 1800s from tariffs. Dear God, guys, why are we sticking it to the Americans when we should have foreigners paying everything for us? We are Costco. You want to come buy from us, or you want to sell to us? Well, there's a membership cost, and that's the tariff. Can you imagine the economic explosion if you removed all income tax from people's paychecks? Dear God, guys, it would be an economic explosion. That with the exploration of gas and oil, holy cow, we would become the richest. Everyone would be exponentially more wealthy in America. But the Republicans and the Democrats don't want it. Why? Why would they not want to enrich America? Because they are making millions of dollars.
Here's what I think is going on. This is my opinion. Based on everything I've seen and everything that I've read, I think for the last 4 years, they know that we are at the end of our cycle in this financial system. And they were purposely trying to collapse the economy and the system to hide their crimes of theft.
I think that's not too far-fetched at all. In fact, that sounds actually right on, spot on.
So here, let me give you guys some perspective in our audience as well, okay? Because none of us can truly grasp trillions of dollars. Most of us probably can't even grasp billions of dollars,
right?
But we can grasp $1 million easily, right? Okay, let's convert it to time. All right. So 1 million seconds equals 0.03 of a year. Okay. 0.03 of a year. So pretty short amount of time, right? Let's go to, here. Sorry, I want to pull the screen up. So there you go. 1 million seconds, 0.03 years. Okay. Let's go to 1 billion seconds. 1 billion seconds is 31.68 years.
Holy smokes.
So perspective, right? We go from 1 million seconds is 0.03 years.
Which is about 3 months, right?
Not even, because it's got a zero in there. It's 0.03.
Oh, 0.03.
So, yeah, right there. So it's, I mean, crap. Let me do it this way. 0.03 times, let's say 365 days is that's 11 days. Okay. So 1 million seconds is about 11 days. 1 billion seconds is 31.68 years. All right. And 1 trillion seconds equals 31,688 years. So hopefully that gives people some perspective. Like it gives you some relativity there, right? I mean, it's the jump from 1 million to 1 billion is ginormous. And then to 1 trillion, even more ginormous. So anyway, like I said, it just puts a little bit of perspective on it. I got 2 more quick tabs to pull up, And it's funny you should mention Trump being the alpha. I don't know if you know this, but Trump is a fantastic hockey player as well. Check it out. So he creamed Justin Trudeau there. We call him Turdo. I know his name's Trudeau, but he's a turd.
Did you hear Trump yesterday in an interview at the Oval Office? He didn't make a joke. He didn't try to make fun. He just says, "Yeah, I just talked to Canada, the 51st state of America, and
Governor Trudeau."
Oh yeah, Governor Trudeau, and he didn't even miss a beat. And I was like, "Damn, man, that guy knows that he is the king, and he is." But I know people will say, "Oh, that's not presidential." I don't want presidential. I want an absolute bare knuckle brawler. That's what I want. And he's right. Canada has been stiffing Americans. They're supposed to be our neighbors, right? Some of their tariffs are over 200%. They're screwing our fishermen. And Donald Trump's right. I've had it. Why am I going to be nice to the effeminate homosexual Trudeau? Why would I do that when he's been raping us? Why would I do that? No, I'm going to take it back, and I'm going to insult you too, because you've been insulting us for decades. I love it. I want Trump tweeting all day and all night, all the time. I want him to just bare knuckle punch people, and I want America to win. That's it. Everyone else, I don't care.
So I have a nephew who lives in northern Alberta, and he's our people. And he sent me this earlier, and I have researched a little bit of this prior to him sending it. And we actually played a video on this topic a couple nights ago because the Canadian pundits have been saying, 43 pounds of fentanyl. Well, number one, that's 10 million lethal dosages, not including the fact that because that was from a high-grade lab, it was more like 15 million lethal doses. And of course, the Biden admin underreported stuff that was coming in, and we stopped working with their law enforcement because their law requires them to tell somebody that they're under investigation. So it's a waste of time, right? But check this out. Veteran law enforcement officials, both active and retired from the United States and Canada, have come forward with explosive allegations suggesting that Canada's federal government may have systematically obstructed investigations into the highest levels of Asian organized crime. According to these sources, American agencies, including the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, have grown so alarmed by suspected corruption and legal loopholes in Canada that they have effectively sidelined Canadian law enforcement from sensitive investigations and intelligence sharing. Several veterans of Canadian law enforcement argue that while U.S. President Donald Trump's critiques of handling of fentanyl trafficking and border security are politically charged and often harsh, they underscore an uncomfortable reality. Canada is increasingly perceived as compromised, either incapable or unwilling to confront entrenched transnational criminal networks. American and Canadian sources alike describe a nation whose law enforcement agencies are in disarray, inhibited by suspected infiltration at the highest levels, obstructing investigations into billion-dollar drug networks and money laundering operations. There's more above and beyond that. There's some pretty crazy allegations being made against Justin Trudeau and the Chinese cooperating together. I'm not even going to mention them because they're unproven. But if they are proven, we'll be one of the first people to mention it. But it's absolutely crazy. So I've got a post from X from you pulled up. But before I do that, I just want to mention this again quickly. We had Cindy Lou Young on a couple nights ago, the J6 grandma. And, she lost everything due to legal bills. She lost her business. She couldn't afford to keep it afloat anymore. All of her savings, et cetera, et cetera. Somebody from the Survival Dispatch News audience last night donated $100 to her. And I wanted to say thank you very much. That was very kind of you. And if anybody else, cares about J6ers and you're looking for somebody to provide a little bit of support to, even $20 is a game changer for her right now. So it's givesendgo.com/protectingfreedom. And it's in tonight's brief too, by the way. And you can get that from patreon.com/survival dispatch. All right, JJ. So I'm going to play this next video and then go to you immediately to expand on your comment that this is a stark reminder we voted for Trump and MAGA, not for the Republican Party. 19 seconds.
Hi. Thank you so much.
Good to see you.
You look good. I said, yeah, really? You do.
Yes. Hang in there. You're a lot of friends here.
Thank you very much.
Lindsey Graham, you look good there. It's like he thinks he's a ribeye steak or something.
Did you see Cornyn take a picture of him like he's a celebrity?
Yep.
I mean, they don't represent us on any level. What are they doing in Ukraine? Donald Trump's trying to stop it right now with Putin, meeting with Putin, and he's got 2 Republicans undermining him, making Trump's his leverage decrease because they're sitting there with Zelensky. I've had it with these people. They're insignificant, and we need to talk. Look, I have on my show tomorrow, I have Lindsey Graham, clips of Lindsey Graham praising USAID, talking about how great USAID is. We have to have USAID. Really? Well, you're in charge of some Republican kind of PAC deal that you got going, and you got $150 million last year. Why is our tax money going to Lindsey Graham? What the hell's going on in this country, guys?
They're overthrowing governments with that money.
Correct.
And they're getting kickbacks from the weapons industry to send weapons over there when they start these wars.
Absolutely. But have you guys noticed too? I haven't gone through it as much as I should, but just what I've seen. This is the USAID is obviously the CIA, an extension of the CIA.
100%.
When you begin to look at what they're doing overseas in foreign nations, their MO is to cause sexual perversion, deviancy, LGBTQ, XYZ craziness, transgender, children mutilation, gender ideology. And then when you're watching them do it in Bangladesh and they're doing it in the African countries, and then you realize, dear God, they have been doing that to us for almost, 5 to 10 years? They being our own government is trying to create so much chaos in America to overthrow America. We have so many traitors inside of our government. It's shocking, guys.
It started actually back in the 60s, JJ.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm absolutely positive. Why were we in Vietnam?
I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see this or not, but I'm surrounded by monitors here. I've got 4 of them in front of me. I've got 2 more over here on this side. But I got to show you something that just popped up on the screen here on the YouTube feed. And YouTube didn't want to publish the comment. I don't know if you all can read it there. The one at the very top where it says, it's being held for moderation. It wants me to approve that comment up top. Do you know what the comment says? I'm sure you can't read it. It's probably a bit of an eye test. It says, "Make America follow the Constitution again."
Wow. And that's what they flagged.
And YouTube just held that for review because it's set, might offend somebody. Right above it, it says this message is held for review. Of course, I just click show, but that's how bad this woke progressive crap is.
Well, but that goes back to what we're talking about, MAGA and Republicans. Look at the Republicans voting to continue to help the social media sites be able to do whatever they want. Why would the Republicans do that? Well, because they're in bed. We have a uniparty. And we go back to Donald Trump for a second. Think of this. And I asked someone the other day, I said, if we remove Trump right now, just snapped our fingers, remove him, tell me who's going to replace him. Tell me who on the Republican Party is going to step in there. And the answer is not one single person could do what he's doing. We would get some kind of Lindsey Graham, John McCain, some kind of Romney. We would get some milquetoast where you and us 3 would be sitting here going, I'm so disgusted. We can't win. We can't do it. And we would be right. We're just going to continue to lose. The only reason this is happening, any changes being made, is simply because of Donald Trump. He is a one man changing the world, not America. He's changing the world as we know it. One 100%. Single man. It's incredible, dude. It's absolutely mind-blowing when you sit down and you start to think about that it's one single man that's commandeering this absolute revolution. It is incredible. It's absolutely incredible.
Somebody asked him when he came up with the idea to get rid of the penny. And he said, well, it just dawned on me while I was at the Super Bowl, so I thought I would share it with everybody. I mean, he makes decisions like that 24/7 and blasts it out there. I mean, we actually have accessibility to our president now, and it's blowing people away. But I mean, he makes brilliant decisions. Why are we paying 2 cents to make a coin that's worth half of that? Sorry, S2, go ahead.
Well, the pennies actually cost 3.5 cents, 3.2 cents to make.
There you go.
But
even worse.
But other than that, the coalition of people that he's building around him, if it were me, I would have done the same thing, because I was looking at all of the people for the last 8 years that have gotten stomped on. I mean, just stomped on. And every single one of those people in his cabinet right now, he's got a few people that weren't on my bingo card, but every single one of those people are the ones that were getting stomped on for the last 8 years. And he said, I'm going to give you a voice, and you're going to do something good with it.
It's amazing.
What a coalition builder, though, right? I mean, I honestly believe that one of the biggest reasons that Democrats hate Tulsi and RFK Jr. is because they had to go to Donald Trump's side to become, true players, significant players, successful. They would have never been that successful if they had stayed Democrats, and it just drives them nuts.
They're absolutely going to lose their minds when Cash gets confirmed this week.
Because what is he going to do? Like, he knows where all the bodies are, man. And he's going to, and it's going, when they undo the Epstein, when they show you all the pedophiles in our government, watch, it's going to be significant. It's going to be a significant amount of pedophiles that have been to Epstein's Island. It's going to shock America.
It absolutely it is. No question in my mind, JJ. I want to address EMP's comment there. I got you flagged. This just illustrates the fraud of freedom. 100% EMP. Exactly. But I'm going to use this as a chance for a shameless plug for Todd Callender. He engaged my team a while ago to build a next generation social media platform with no censorship. So unless it's porn or something illegal, everything goes. It's launching on February the 26th. It's called Liberty Club, and it's coming together quite nicely. Take the best of X, the best of Facebook, and the best of Rumble, put it together. That's what we've built. We've built some pretty badass monetization stuff in there for guys like JJ, which, listen to this. I'm going to let JJ describe it in his own words. Tell our audience about the suppression of you speaking in front of Congress on your channel versus somebody else's.
Yeah. So we were just talking before we came on about, your new venture. And I said, you know what? I love what Elon Musk has done on X. However, I know that I'm being suppressed. I went and testified in front of Congress, and it was fairly explosive, what I said. And I posted
JJ Carroll, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And because I have such disdain for those people. They're the dumbest people in our population, somehow have authority and power over me. It just infuriated me. But I posted something, I gave an example to Chris. I posted my a couple 30, 40 seconds of my back and forth, and I got 10, 15,000 likes. A week later, that same clip gets taken by another influencer. Nothing different, just that clip. It comes back and lands in my algorithm, and it's holding 5.2 million people. How is that possible? I can understand maybe it comes back 100,000. I go, okay, well, this person, they have a little more followers, blah, blah, blah. But how does my stuff stay at 10 and that one goes to 5.2 and I see no growth in my followers? That's impossible. Chris, it's impossible if I got 1/1000th of 1% of the 5.2 million would have subscribed to my channel or my account. I would see a fluctuation of 10, 15, 20,000 new followers just off one post. So I know that I'm being shadow banned. I don't even try with Facebook and all that. I know that garbage kills me. But X is it doesn't make any sense anymore. And to believe that Elon Musk eradicated all those anti-American communists, no. Just like we're talking about the government. The government's evil. The government is the enemy of the people. Yes, Donald Trump's in. Yes, he's getting great people in. But there are tens of thousands of anti-American traitors embedded in the administrative state, and it's going to take time to eradicate them.
Just back to X for a second. So I've been suspended 3 times over the past 12 months for quoting the law as it relates to treason, right? And each time I was told that I was fomenting violence, and yet the purple hair freaks can say they hope the next assassin blows down his head off. And of course, they don't get banned or anything like that. JJ, I did like a really short, like 60-second video on a LPVO that was sent to us from Swamp Fox. We met them at SHOT Show, and they have an option for a blue reticle. So, you know, like this is a prosthetic eye. This eye's got an intraocular lens in it. And as soon as your cornea is messed up, that's astigmatism, right? So if you put readers on to look through an optic, well, then you can't see shit downrange. And if you take your readers off, then you'll end up with a red reticle that blooms like crazy, right? Blue doesn't do that, no matter how bad your stigmatism is. And it's game-changing stuff for anybody over 40 who doesn't want to wear glasses, protective glasses, but not prescription glasses when they're shooting. Anyway, I had a Unit Solutions training rifle, which comes with a letter from the ATF and says, this is not a firearm, can't be converted to a firearm. They gave us a strike for showing that gun. And the appeal process was click a button, but no explanation. Yep. I reached out to a couple of people I know there, and I said, hey, there was no opportunity for me to put any text in there. And this is going to go to somebody who knows nothing about guns. And they're going to say, oh, it looks like a scary gun. It's a strike. And sure as shit, we got the strike. I filmed another section with it today. And I specifically write in it and said, hey, if you're from YouTube and you're watching this, this is not a gun, just to be clear. So
it's crazy. Do you know, of all the things that I've talked about on YouTube, on my show, Truth with JJ, I talk about everything and I don't hold back. Do you know where I got 2 strikes? On a commercial that I talked about plastics being in our food. There are plastics in our food, billions of plastics in our foods, and they struck me. And I'm not mad so much at YouTube because they're commie bastards. They have a great platform, but they're communists. I'm mad at the quote representatives that represent me that continue to pass laws allowing them to censor. They can either be a publisher or they can't be a publisher. You
Correct.
can't be both. So let's stop this. It is a lie, right? It's all, we have been propagandized. My whole life. I'm 55 years old. I have been propagandized my whole entire life to believe absolute lies. Absolute lies. Nothing makes sense anymore. Nothing. I don't trust anything or anybody about anything. I'm Catholic. I'm a devout Catholic. I don't trust my Pope. I don't trust my bishops. I don't trust my government. But I think, well, wow, I don't, and I have legitimate reasons. But no society can sustain itself or progress into the future when no one trusts anyone.
Correct.
And that's what's happening right now. And it's crazy.
I got a little story to tell you. I got a friend of ours here who's been in the Moms for Liberty movement for quite some time. And she wrote something on her Substack about a month ago. And that's literally what she said. She said, I don't trust my neighbors. I don't trust my family. I don't trust my government. And I'm going to be dropping off and you're never going to see me again. And I guess it was about a month later, she wrote back up and she says, I have some renewed faith in this because there are some people that came forward for me and they were pushing for some legislation in our state that they wanted me to jump on board and go to bat with it. And she said that kind of renewed me, and now she's back again. So there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and it takes all of us collectively to get rid of this. This is not going to happen overnight.
Well,
the
light's been at the end of the tunnel for the past 4 years, but it was a freight train, and now it's not. You know, realistically, back to X quickly, just because I come from high tech, JJ. There's a ton of woke code still under the hood at X, and I don't believe that Elon Musk cares about it because to him it's minor stuff. He's restored a significant element of free speech. Now he's moved on to the next thing, right? Doge and Mars and all that kind of stuff. And X will continue to do that to people. And Zuckerberg saying that he's opening up Facebook. We got kicked off in the middle of a stream last week. I think it was Tuesday night. And I'm watching the morning coming up on my dashboard here. I'm like, what? And it says, you violated the community guidelines by showing violence and glorifying it. We were having a conversation about politics. There wasn't one bit of violence. nothing at all, right? So of course I appealed it, and for once in a blue moon, they ruled in our favor. But Facebook is no better. It's all lip service on Zuckerberg's part. I'm telling you, what we're doing for Todd Callender at Liberty Club is a game changer for restoring freedom of speech. So that out of the way, I know we don't have much more time with you, JJ. Tell us about the book and where people can get it. I guess Amazon. Is it going to be on your website as well this week? By chance?
Will. Well, my website's being completely reworked and won't be up for less than 30 days. I have a brand new website. I'm very excited about it.
Cool.
But you can go Amazon. I love Amazon because I went through a traditional publishing house and they censored me on Invaded back in 2023, and I regained the rights of my book and I learned how to self-publish. And so I said, I'm never going that route again. I'm going to own everything that I do. It's going to be mine 100%. And I'm going to, if I fail, it's going to be because of me. It's not going to be because someone sabotaged me. And if I'm successful, it's going to be because I went out and I hustled and I did it. So I went back to Amazon, and which has an incredible platform. I can't say enough great things about publishing on Amazon. But when I did Invaded, it was about 2 years into Joe Biden's administration. His first year, I was still in the Border Patrol. And then I decided, you know what? I can't let what he has done just go undocumented. I have got to document it from my lens, from everything that I know, because I listen to people talk about the border, and it's so sophomoric at times. I'm not trying to say I'm I know everything, but I am an expert on this. I understand exactly how this is happening, why it's happening, what mechanisms they're using, what policy they have bastardized and lied about. I have inside sources. I understand. So I said, you know what? I'm going to sit down. I'm going to write a book of what's happened these last 4 years. And I wrote it all the way up until Donald Trump won the election. And I sat there and I wrote, and I did Treason from this perspective, guys. As a former Border Patrol agent for 24 years, I ran large task forces where we did major human smuggling cases and major narcotic smuggling cases. And I decided I'm going to write this book as I'm presenting a case to the American public, and as I would to a U.S. attorney, and say, hey, here is all the hard evidence. Here's all my sworn statements. Here's all the sworn statements from the agents. Here's the sworn statements from the witnesses. Here's guys I got to roll. Here is actual the video footage of everything. Here's my hard evidence. Here's everything, U.S. attorney. Now go prosecute this scumbag. I did the same thing in this. I pushed all in and said, here, America, here's who did it. This is how they did it and why they did it. And this is the manifestation. This is what they've achieved. It's open source. Look it up. Here it is. Now let's go convict them, because I believe, guys, we're not talking about policy decisions that went wrong, like a President Carter who was just inept as a president and just sucked. He can't go to jail because he sucked. He just gets voted out and we start over. However, Joe Biden didn't suck. This wasn't accidental. This wasn't bad policy. This was all strategic, intentional, and purposeful, all of it. And they allowed 30 million people, illegal aliens, into America in 4 years, guys. And then Donald Trump shut it down. Now we're at 97% decrease from the height of Joe Biden's treason. That tells you that the border could have been secured overnight, and they chose not to. If you do that, if you make intentional, strategic, and purposeful decisions that harm America, that is treason. And when you get to that point, and you get to that point where you acknowledge what treason is, and yes, your government did that, then there has to be punishment to that treason. I can't just let it go, and I will not let it go. Because if we don't stop it now, my son, when he becomes a man and he gets married and has kids, and then his kids have kids, they're going to have to fight this battle. They're going to have to make these hard decisions that we decided we're not going to touch. I'm ready to touch it. You want to utilize me to bring these people to justice. And the only way I know how to is to bring it in the forms of books, articles, speeches, and documentaries. And then I have to step away and just say, do it. You're in positions of authority. And I'll give you a great example of the insanity that we're living in. And I write about this in one of my chapters in the book, and it's my congressional testimony. In my congressional testimony, I sit there for 5 minutes. I listen to a congresswoman from Illinois named Delia Ramirez, and she smears me, slanders me, calls me a racist, a xenophobe, a white nationalist, somebody that's been begging Trump for a job, and I don't even know Mr. Trump, and I don't know anybody that can get me a job, and I've never done it. I'm not that type of guy. Says I have no experience to talk about child sex trafficking or the border, despite my 24 years on the border. And then in an emotional state that she's in, because she's very amped up, and she begins to talk about her mother. And she's talking to me, and she says, and I'm almost quoting now, I don't ever want to have another discussion about women being raped on the border because my mother from Guatemala was raped when she tried to crossed into the United States pregnant with me. And I stopped and I looked around like, are any of you impotent, gutless cowards, especially all you white impotent cowards on the Republican side, are you going to stop and say, ma'am, you're an illegal alien. You can't be in Congress. I was being chastised, slandered, called horrific names by an illegal alien. I don't care about your, quote, birthright citizenship. That is a lie. And we can go into that a whole nother, and I write about birthright citizenship and the fallacy. I have an illegal alien woman that if I had my uniform on, guys, if I was back in the Border Patrol, I would have had the stones, and trust me, anybody that worked with me will verify this. I had the stones that I'd go up there and I'd slam that fat Guatemalan woman on the thing, and I would cover up and say, you're under arrest. Let's go. You're an illegal alien, and I'm deporting your fat ass back to Guatemala. That's exactly what should be done. But we don't. Why? Because they're all complicit. Are they all that stupid? No. A lot of them are stupid. I testified, and I will testify over and over again that they are the dumbest people in our population, period, that run us. But there's a 10 to 20% that are highly, highly strategic and intelligent, and they're ruining our country. And they're using puppets that are illegal aliens and people that hate America to destroy America. I believe that at the depths of my soul.
I agree, JJ. And you know this, but some other people may not be aware of it. But a very large number of these illegal invaders are illiterate in their own language, let alone in English. You know, they have the equivalent of a, first grade education, if that.
Well, I had my first book was one of them was censored by my conservative publication when they said, well, you know what you said, and I said, well, give me a reason why. What is it you don't like? Well, you said that almost all of them coming across are illiterate. I said, yes, they are. Well, how do you know that? How do I know that? I did it for 24 years. They don't know how to spell their name. It's not that they can't read and write English. They can't do that. They can't read or write their own language. They don't know when they're born. They don't know their birthday. When you ask them when their birth, what's the date of birth, they tell you Friday. They don't know how to use a pen. They don't know how to spell their name. They don't know where the hell they're from. And I'm talking about the absolute vast majority of them all. And you brought in 30 million. We're at 50 million right now. Uneducated, illiterate peasants. And people go, well, that's really derogatory to call them peasants. Okay, well, let's open the dictionary. Come on, let's go, students, and let's read what a peasant is. A peasant is someone that is absolutely illiterate in their own language, have no talent, no job skills, are completely worthless. That's what you brought into America. I lived it. I'm not being disparaging to people. I'm telling you, I did this by the thousands, the tens of thousands of arrests where I had physical interaction with these people, and we called them dead eyes. There's nothing back there, guys. I'm just telling you, I'm not trying to be mean. They cannot function like a normal human being. They don't. And they're in the hunter and gathering stage of their evolution. That's why you see massive amounts of rapes, massive amounts of assaults and violent murders. Why? Because you brought third world people into your first world country and you expect everything to go perfectly and happy. Well, you know what? If you believe that, then I'm going to tell you, look in the sky right now. There's unicorns and rainbows floating around, throwing Skittles in the air. Because that's how stupid you are to believe that you bring in 30, 50 million illegal aliens that are peasants, and you think everything's going to be okay. It's not, and we're living through it right now, and that is treason.
It's the perfect population to control.
That's my thesis of everything, is that this as a fundamental transformation of America, not racial demographics, a demographic from citizens to non-citizens. That's it. And then when you look through it, and I do a whole chapter on this, when you look at the birth rates, guys, American women are not even reproducing at the replacement level, meaning we're dying. You bring in illegal aliens, and I show you through multiple left-wing websites that the birth rates we're bringing in go from anywhere from 1 to 4 to 5 times the U.S. rate. 5. Okay, let me give you an example. Venezuelans, over 1 million that we know about. Yeah, over 1 million Venezuelans been brought in, and I do a whole breakdown of the increase of births. They're at a 3-to-1 ratio of births from us to Americans. I did a comparison, and just so your audience knows, to give you some kind of context, when you take the total amount of people that were brought into illegally into America, I'm not talking about getaways, I'm just talking about what our government admitted to arresting and releasing, and then you add their birth rate on top of it, we are at a net negative in 2023, just on what we brought in births, over 1.3 million people. Do the math. It is a bad math problem, and we will lose unless Donald Trump, through Tom Homan, can get all 50 million people out of the United States of America.
Yeah, so I don't know if you've had a chance to discuss this with Lieutenant Colonel Doc Pete Chambers or Major Mike Hall, but Doc Pete's coming back on this week to give us some updates, but they've been working super closely with Tom Homan. Tom Homan actually offered a couple high-level positions to Doc. He's like, yeah, I'm not moving back to D.C. He was born and raised on a ranch in Texas. He's a cowboy. But so now he's involved in a different capacity. And some of the things that they're doing, and I know you're aware of them in some of our audiences, but I'll reiterate them because it's important. You know, we only have 660,000 law enforcement agents right now.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point in time when Trump was in office the first time, that was over 1 million. And then, of course, we demonized them with the whole, BLM riots, George Floyd riots, demonetized the police, et cetera, et cetera. So one of the things they're going to do, JJ, is take retired law enforcement, retired military, and put them into roles where they can help gather intel because they know what they're looking at. And if they can do some of those tasks, then more badges and guns can do the interdiction piece.
Mm-hmm.
The next part to it is really interesting. They're going to be courting armed guards, so certified armed guards, to help bolster their numbers on the interdiction side as well. So Major Mike Hall, for example, owns Crossfire Training out of DFW, and he's certifying people right now to get those extra bodies to assist. They'll essentially be sworn in as U.S. Marshals, right, when the time comes. And then the next part to it is, and I know you know about this, but it's pretty good. Sometimes when your enemy's good at something, you got to steal a page out of their book.
Mm-hmm.
So there will be money flowing to these NGOs that are favorable to the deportation stuff, and they're actually going to help with the deportations as opposed to raping us by facilitating the invasion. So there's going to be some opportunities for patriotic men and women to get involved in this, and it's encouraging. Because Tom is not happy with the numbers right now. He doesn't have enough manpower is the problem.
The question I have about that is, when is words going to get out about that besides right now? Because the public's not been hearing anything about this. They've been hearing about the deputization, or I shouldn't say deputization, but basically telling bail bondsmen that any illegal alien they get, I think there was something down in Missouri going on where they had bail bondsmen down there. If they were to arrest an illegal alien down there, there would be a bounty paid to them for that.
They're trying to pass that law in Missouri. I don't know if it's going to pass, but I will echo this, guys, what you were saying, Chris, about Tom Homan. I am the biggest Tom Homan fan, and I think there is not anyone in America that is a better fit and better selection than Tom Homan.
Agreed.
I'm watching Tom Homan, though, the last week, and he seems frustrated, exasperated, and pressured because he's not doing the numbers he wants. And I don't have inside knowledge on this, but I'm looking at it just from a guy that did this job. And I believe that what he's missing is lieutenants. He's missing lieutenants to drive his mission. Look, you can have boots on the ground, but if you have no one driving those sergeants and those boots on the ground, it ain't working. That's why you have a chain of command. I don't know if this is true. I'm looking from the outside in, so I'm in no way talk negative about Tom Homan. I'm telling you that I believe he does not have. Look, America's a huge place. You have to break America down into quadrants and states, if you will, and hire lieutenants to say, you have, North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming, and Montana. You got those 4 blocks. Go. Here's your manpower. Here's your money. Here's your deputization of sheriffs. Now go. I want results. I don't think that's in place yet. I'm just surmising. And another thing that I have a big problem with, there are hotels right now scattered across America that are housing thousands of illegal aliens. Why are we not going to those hotels one by one with the Army National Guard surrounding them and then eradicating every single person? Let's take the Roosevelt, for example, 5,000 people. Why are we not surrounding that? Why are we not going to every hotel in New York City and draining it floor by floor by floor and having buses there and deporting? Now, you want to talk about a PR move? You want to talk about something that puts the fear of God into every illegal alien? Get out. Get the hell out of my country. And if I find you, just like Tom Homan said, when I find you, I'm slapping a 20-year ban on you. So you either get out or you're never coming back for 20 years. You'll die in that cesspool in the nation that I'm going to send you back to. So I think there's some things that need to be done. I'm still betting the farm on Tom Homan because I believe he's a man that's just going to make it happen.
I'm with you there. Lori's got an interesting option here. Recruit Canadian police for help here in the U.S. and in exchange offer U.S. citizenship. Yeah, that would put them. That would really hurt Canada because they're already in a bad situation on that front. But S2, go ahead, and then JJ, have some comments on your theory on lieutenants. Go ahead, S2.
So JJ, so you know what I do in my copious amounts of spare time. The latest piece of information that I sent over to Doc Pete to get to Tom Homan was going after these ICE Watch groups. And I found a few of the instigators. I know where they are, and I sent him all of the information on them to go after them. So that's one thing I do. The second thing that I've been doing is looking at IPB in my particular AO so that I can say, okay, I know where you can go you can get the most bang for your buck.
Mm-hmm.
And just like you were saying at the hotels, you could go into these areas, surround these areas, and snatch up everybody there.
Mm-hmm.
And you could do credential searches on them right away. Because I can tell you right now, in my area, I could throw a stone and I can tell you exactly where they are. So the question is, if I'm getting him that information, is that being actioned upon?
No, it's not. It's not.
The
why?
Shortage of manpower. That's what he's really frustrated with, is the shortage of manpower at his disposal, which is why it keeps coming in dribs and drabs, right? Like they just deputized something like 1,000 additional law enforcement officers last week. It's not enough. We need more. And then your comment on lieutenants is really, really good. So let me paint a picture from something that might be a little bit easier to understand, that's, describing what you're describing. So I grew up in the construction industry. Then I was in high tech for many years. And when Oracle acquired Sun, big culture clash. So I moved on to, doing consulting, and I did a lot of consulting for construction companies because I'm intimately familiar with that vertical. And I had a client here in Florida. They could hire illegals all day long if they wanted to. They didn't, but they could have. It was funny because ICE would show up at their job sites and ICE would start laughing because they would tell us any other job site they would go to. Everybody, they'd scatter like roaches, right?
Yep.
But here's the thing is this company at any point in time had 30 projects underway, and they were unable to find and recruit foremen and superintendents. So they had 2 superintendents trying to run 30 concurrent jobs at the same time. So they'd show up to a job and they'd say, hey, y'all need to do this, that, whatever, and leave. And then the crews would not be productive. Some of them were downright, they were thieves. This company had these like 5-man crews that they would either combine or send out, but they did it in groups of 5. Get this, India. One of the groups was discovered that they each got 1 day off a week, but reported that the person was on the job site all day. So they were working 4-day weeks and getting paid for 5 days because the 5 were in cahoots with each other. Then the cops were called in and they got charged for that. That's a side story. But the reality is finding the supers and the foremen in the construction industry to make a job site work properly. It's like pulling teeth. You can't find them at all. It's no different than what you're describing with Tom Homan at all.
Yeah, but there are still young guys right now. I could go and get 5, 10 guys that I know that just retired that are very competent, that know law and know how to lead large groups of men to get things done. So they're out there. They are out there. It just depends on what Mr. Homan, what kind of org chart that he wants to create. But it's going to have to be big and it's going to have to be broad, but he's got to trust those men to drive that mission. Guys that are hungry. You know, like you just said, Donald Trump put all the people in positions that were adversely affected. What about all of those Border Patrol agents, supervisors, and above, and those ICE guys that were forced out from retirement because they wouldn't take the jab or they wouldn't conform to the treason? And they are the highest level guys. You have more than enough of those guys waiting to come back in that could be your lieutenants that can drive the mission and drive it and be so goal oriented. So my hope and prayers is that Tom Homan gets it. I see him. I see the frustration he has because he expects to be successful, and I expect him to be successful. Sure. He's a great patriot, great fighter. I just want him to get the backing he deserves and have the men underneath him to get the job done.
You know who would make a great lieutenant for him would be Sheriff Mark Lamb, who's resigned from being the sheriff in his county in Arizona because it's, as you know, way underpaid for what you have to do, but he knows how to lead men.
Yep.
And he's a great guy. I want to say thank you to Scott for throwing $5 in here. And then I want to address B. Rich's comment here. Jeannie Rogers, they brought in all the illegals to destroy the country, get them to vote Democrat, stay in office for life, bankrupt the company, cause disruption because they don't assimilate. I'm going to give my answer, and then JJ, I want to hear your answer and that's too as well. So here's the thing. If you look at birth rates for people who are liberal versus people who are conservative in America, liberals don't have kids. So if you let it play out, eventually there would be nobody, of a liberal mindset left. So they have to import additional voters by allowing the illegals in. They have to indoctrinate children in the school system to think like them so that they stand a chance. They want to indoctrinate our children, to vote for them going forward. And then the final piece on my side is, America's the firewall between globalism and freedom. There's nobody coming to rescue America.
No.
If Klaus Schwab and the Rothschilds and all those clowns, if they win and they get their one world government, which is all predicated on climate change, right? Climate change poses an existential threat to humanity. And the only way we're going to save humanity is if we have a one world government. That's how they came up with the fallacy of climate change, right? I just turned 56. We're the same age. So you would remember acid rain came first.
Mm-hmm.
Then it was global warming. Then it was like, holy crap, there's going to be another ice age to climate change. And that's a ploy. That's all it is. And when the Europeans released a report this past week, JJ, that said January was the warmest month around the entire world in history, right? And my question is, since when? Because in the 1500s, there was a massive heat wave that the temperatures were exponentially greater than what we have right now. And in the 1000s, there was an even worse one that had even higher temperatures for upwards of the entire century. So when somebody says, well, that's the warmest month on record or warmest year on record, the response should be, since when?
Mm-hmm. It's all a lie. It's a lie. Well, to answer this individual's question too is, or to say, yeah, I agree with you. It's already been proven that if these illegal aliens are counted in the 2030 census, you are going, because they're all in the blue cities, the majority of them, you're going to see 60 to 62 seats in the House flip from red to blue. It's over. Everything you know in America, no matter how much you try to fight or you try to get a Donald Trump in, it is over. Absolutely over. And I'm looking at Debbie. She says, my book is only on Kindle. She's right. It's on Kindle until the paperback on Wednesday. Comes out on Wednesday, and the audio has a great audio actor. It will be out in the first week of March. So the paperback does come on Wednesday, and there's a Kindle right now available.
Yeah, and in the video description below, there's links to JJ's stuff, and I'll make sure I mention it again on Wednesday, JJ. So before you go, and I appreciate you spending a little bit of extra time with us tonight, the book covers a number of different and equally important big topics like NGOs, the demographic upheaval, which you've already kind of touched on, the destruction of large cities. I like how you mentioned hollowing out small town America, but special interest aliens, so terrorists, the criminals that have been imported, the threat that China poses, the child sex trafficking, which you made 2 movies on that, 2 documentaries that you did with Ryan Matta, and that's at whatistreason.com, and it's $9.99, gets you both of them, by the way. Then you've got a section in your book of naming the traitors and their lieutenants, which I love. And then new sheriffs are in town. So the reason I went through all that, one, I wanted to give people a glimpse, but pick one of those and just expand on it for the benefit of the audience before you jet. And by the way, $9.99, you get 2 documentaries. If JJ doesn't say it, I will say it. He spent over $200,000 of his own money for this. We had somebody come on the chat on Survival Dispatch News at one point in time and said that JJ should give it away for free. And I said to them, I said, well, do you pay for your cell phone? Do you pay for internet at home? Well, yeah. What do you mean? Well, so JJ should spend $200,000 and you can't kick back $9.99, but you have no problems paying Comcast or Spectrum or any of these other countries. Not to mention the amount of time. Time is the most valuable commodity in the world. It's the only thing can't be bought or replaced, right? So I just wanted to get that in there because it was a ridiculous comment on the part of somebody who clearly had that socialist, Marxist, communist bent to them of entitlement. But JJ, pick one of those topics, chapters, and give us the cliff notes.
Well, here's the one. Let's stay on lieutenants because it works both ways, right? Okay. So we're saying Tom Homan needs lieutenants, just like Donald Trump needs lieutenants to fill out his cabinet and drive his mission. Same thing with the left. So when you look at Mayorkas, the former secretary of DHS, he had a mission to destroy America. He can't do it himself. He has to have lieutenants, and I touched it, right? Because I could have written 5-10 books on the amount of lieutenants that he hired and had in positions of authority. So I picked about 7, 8, 9 of them, and I briefly described who they are. He had people in the highest levels of USCIS, the DHS, direct lines between policymaker and Biden, like direct line, no in between them. They all hate law enforcement. They write posts, they give speeches about how they want to defund ICE, defund the Border Patrol. Nobody is illegal. No one human's illegal. No deportations. No enforcement. These are the people that are paid a salary to support the law enforcement officers that are forced because they swore an oath to defend America and enforce the laws on the book. So you have this complete apparatus of DHS and the White House going against the law and the law enforcement officers. It is shocking. When you go to that chapter, lieutenants, you will be shocked, but you will also be enlightened to think that's how they did it. They hired the most rabid anti-police, most rabid anti-immigrant enforcement. It's unbelievable. And I was even a little shocked as I went down that rabbit hole and I started going and going and going. I was like, man, I mean, this chapter could be 50 pages long, and I'm not going to scratch the surface. So I have to condense it down to, 10, 14 pages. And I'm like, okay, well, I need the audience to the reader to understand the depth of this. Here's some examples, and they're shocking. They're absolutely shocking, but they all have something in common. What is that something in common? They all worked for NGOs, nonprofits that all were adversarial to DHS and immigration, and or they were defense attorneys for illegal and legal immigrants. All of them, all adversarial to the law enforcement side, and we hired the foxes to guard the hen house. And we're shocked when 30 million people come into America in 4 years.
Man, that's amazing information. I wasn't aware of all of that. I scanned through your book today as fast as I could once you sent it to me. But yeah, that's pretty enlightening. That's pretty crazy stuff. S2, do you have anything, parting questions or thoughts for JJ before we switch gears into chapter 2?
I paid for your documentaries.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, what did you think of Trafficked, about the child sex trafficking?
Well, it's one of the other things that I do in my spare time is I hunt pedophiles.
Okay.
So what was in that was not shocking to me in any way, shape, or form because of some of the things that I come across in my travels when I'm doing open source stuff. It's been a very frustrating journey for me with that, because I've had so much information that I've given to several people, and it seems like nobody was doing anything with it.
No one will.
Well, yeah, and it was very frustrating to me to see that. However, I would say that some of the stuff that I gave James O'Keefe when he did his documentary, he actually did do something with some of it. The odd thing was in some of the stuff that he had me looking into, I found somebody who was associated with the cartels, and when I found their address, at the Pentagon. They had a PO box at the Pentagon, and I was just like, no wonder nobody's doing anything with this.
No, and it's not, because the enemy is inside our government. You know that as well as I do, and the pedophilia runs rampant through every segment of our society.
I've got a whole map. In fact, it was one of the first things that I sent Chris and I sent Doc Pete, and they were both blown away when I sent them, because I had a whole map of it already lining it back to DHS long before anybody was even talking about it. And it was like, yeah, there it is. And it also, and all of the NGOs, and unfortunately, some of the Catholic NGOs were implicated in my map as well.
No, Catholic Charities is neck deep in all this, and my theory that me and Ryan wanted to prove was the United States federal government is the world's largest child sex trafficking organization in modern history, and they are, and they move children into America at alarming rates of 550,000 in 4 years, and they lost them all of them.
Let me ask you this, JJ. So we supposedly lost 300,000, and it's probably double that number. We lost 300,000 kids. Are they being trafficked out of this country? They trafficked into this country, and they're sold, and then they're trafficked out of the country. Is that in the realm of possibility? Because I've been hearing that they've been shipping them back to Guatemala.
No, I think they're here for our appetite, and I heard that our children are being kidnapped and sent overseas because their organs are less parasitic. That's what I heard. And that makes sense. And because when you begin to look in that rabbit hole of lost U.S. citizen children, you're looking at almost 1,000 to 2,000 a day, man. A day.
Well,
400, 500,000, 800,000 in a year go missing, and no one says a damn thing.
That's why they started the whole milk carton thing. That's why they started the whole milk carton program way back when, was to give everybody something to feel good about.
That's it. And how far fetched is it to say the kids on the milk carton were actually advertisement on what's available?
Exactly.
That's how sick this is. I mean, that's a whole nother topic, whole nother show. America is the #1 consumer of child pornography in the world. America is one of the top nations that pays to rape children, physically rape children. We're the #1 consumer of hard narcotics, and we are the #1 producer and exporter of pornography in the world. America, you are not a shiny city on the hill anymore, my friend. Why do we all say make America great again? Because we're not great right now. We're in a moral cesspool. We need to look in the mirror. and realize that America, you are the problem. You're demanding these products from the cartels, and the cartels are simply delivering a product like Amazon would to your front door. That's it.
Yeah,
And if you're not doing something to help solve the problem, then you're part of the problem.
Yes, I agree 100%. There are no more sitting on the fence post on this. You got to get in, or you are the problem.
Yeah, and a lot of this comes back to what you said, JJ, of these, people in office, or the bureaucracy, even worse, that hate everything about our country. I started saying a while ago during the, Obama's third term, that the only way to square all of these anti-American decisions is to conclude that our country was being run by our enemies.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes into lower class citizens comment here, and we'll let you go right after that, JJ. But we are all fools if we still think for a minute that when they swear in that they actually give a shit about the oath they swear to. Well, that's the problem that happened with the last administration. I'll call you LCC for short. Not one person in the Biden cabinet had a valid oath of office. So my good friend and business partner, Todd Callender, a very notorious attorney, CEO of a global insurance company, is a really interesting guy. One of his researchers stumbled across, the first one was Mayorkas, that did not have a valid oath of office. So when they FOIA'd the information, they got it back. He had signed the oath of office and sent it in, but it wasn't notarized, so it was defective. So the next one they went and had a look at was for Merrick Garland. And not only was it not notarized, it wasn't even signed. So it was even more defective. So at that point in time, Todd said to his research team, FOIA all of them, get every single one of their oaths of office. Many of them, they couldn't produce anything. They said, it appears that nothing was ever, filed, or they were defective. So I said to Todd, I said, well, I'm not an attorney. So, what are the implications of this? And he said, well, if you commit treason and you're a government official, you're going to hang for it, essentially. But if you don't sign a valid oath of office, you are an imposter. And being an imposter posing as a government official carries a maximum penalty of 5 years in prison. And he said they're hedging their bets that if Trump gets back in, or somebody else, that they're not sentenced to death, essentially. And who knows, maybe that'll come into play now that Trump and Doge and everybody else is on the loose. But there's your answer, LCC. They didn't have valid oaths of office, not one of them in the Biden admin. I have a copy of all of them. It's like a 70 some odd page PDF. And each one of them, Todd's team meticulously went through and said, this is defective, this is defective, this is defective. It was crazy. Craziest thing I ever heard, JJ, of our government being run by a bunch of people who not one of them had a valid oath of office.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me at all.
A lot can happen in 5 years in prison, because I'm going to tell you something. Cons don't like baby rapers either.
Nope, they don't. Especially the ones that facilitated mass migration of children to be raped.
100%. 100%.
Guys, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
100%.
I appreciate you taking the time to help me promote my book. I really appreciate that. Thank you, guys.
I'm going to, we'll be on at 7 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday night, 7 days a week, 7 p.m. I'll make sure that in the show notes that we mention that your paperback is available again on Wednesday. Again, people, when you support JJ's work, which is absolutely phenomenal, not only can you learn from it, but this is information to share with your circle to try and combat the propaganda from the legacy media. He gives you the goods, the receipts on all this stuff. JJ, can't thank you enough for being on. Can't thank you enough for all the hard work you've put in to help save our country. And good luck with the book launch, and look forward to seeing you soon.
All right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
Right. We will be right back after a short message from Sawyer.
The Sawyer Mini is the most versatile personal filtration system available. It's a perfect solution for backpacking, hiking, hunting, fishing, scouting, international travel, and emergency preparedness. At a mere 2 ounces, the Mini fits in the palm of your hand and can filter up to 100,000 gallons of water from any freshwater lake, river, or stream. The Sawyer Mini has a 0.1 micron absolute pore size. It was tested to 10 million parts of bacteria and 1 million parts of protozoa without a single breakthrough. This is the highest level filters can be tested to, so we're confident these are the highest rates of filtration available.
All All right. So we're running a little bit long tonight. In a perfect world, we spend 1 hour on chapter 1. The first 10, 15 minutes gives you kind of an overview for people who are really tight on time. And I like to go from 8 till 8:30 on chapter 2, 8:30 to 9 on chapter 3. Again, we're running a little bit long. And if we're ever going to run long, it'll be for JJ Carroll, because he's a phenomenal guy and he's become a good friend of ours, and I love everything he's doing. So with that being said, let's jump into chapter 2, S2. This is 17 seconds, but it was so awesome when I watched it this morning, and I thought, man, I got to play this tonight. America is back, thanks to President Trump. So it's not very often that we mention Axios unless it's in a negative light. The CEO of Axios a couple months ago had a big cry session in a theater that he was speaking at, I should say, and it went viral across X. And he was crying because Elon said that we are now the media and not them. And he was like, you are not the media. And, I mean, he had a big crybaby fest over it. But surprisingly enough, this article from Axios on Trump deploying all of his lieutenants last week to Europe is actually the best summary of them all that I've seen. So if you go to patreon.com/survivaldispatch, sign up for a membership. We're not giving these away to free anymore, because a couple of our paying members, they weren't upset, but they said, hey, maybe that should be for us. And so that's fine. You can buy them for $3.99 or you can sign up for $9.99. The $3.99 is the lowest we can go on Patreon. I'm looking at some other solutions. 99 cents is a reasonable number in my mind. Anyway, I'm going to go through this fairly quickly, and then I'm going to ask for your input on it. S2, it's a pretty good article. So President Trump stunned, strangled, and humiliated Europe, leaving America's closest continental ally dazed and dumbfounded. I grew up on Zeppelin. I'd say dazed and confused. But anyway, over the course of just a few days last week, no amount of Trump proofing could have prepared Europe for the mega-shaped hurricane that swept across the continent last week, wreaking torrential havoc on America's closest allies. Trump left NATO and Ukraine still reeling with his initiation of direct peace talks with Russia, without Ukraine fully in the loop or other European leaders even in the conversation. So some highlights here. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth perplexed and perturbed allies on his first visit to NATO by seemingly taking some of Ukraine's bargaining chips off the table before those talks began. He also demanded that Europe take ownership of its own defense so the U.S. could focus on the more urgent threat from China. Back at home, Trump announced reciprocal tariffs. Whatever you charge us for tariffs, we're going to hit you back with them. And at a global AI summit in Paris on Tuesday, J.D. Vance went scorched earth on them and beat them up over how they're censoring people and throwing them in jail for speaking the truth, and it's going to bite them in the ass. And so here's some of the comments that he made. He said, the threat I worry the most about vis-a-vis Europe is not Russia. It's not China. It's not any other external actor. Vance started his speech with, what I worry about is the threat from within, the retreat of Europe from some of its most fundamental values shared with the United States. So he basically referred to all the European Union officials as commissars, which is a reference to, the Soviet Union, and accused them of censoring their citizens in the name of fighting disinformation and hate online. He excoriated them. Far right, what they're calling this guy, in reality is more of just a conservative. I mean, we all stayed here and the left went off the deep end that way. So now they think somebody like us or the guy who won the election in Romania is far right, but they annulled the results, which is total bullshit. They said this was Russian manipulation on TikTok. We don't believe it's a legitimate election. And they didn't let the guy into office. Just complete bullshit and stealing that election in Romania. He condemned the convictions of a British man who prayed outside an abortion clinic and a Swedish man who participated in Korean burnings that led to his friend's murder. And basically at the end of the day, like the British have been letting hardened criminals out of prison early. They did over 300,000 like that last year, by the way, so that they could put people away who made posts on social media that caused somebody anxiety or hurt their feelings, or said anything about the invasion that they've allowed. I've had people argue it both ways. My personal opinion is that Europe is about this far from being done if they're not done already. So long story short is they were pissed off with Vance in his speech, but then he refused to meet with the left-wing guys, this Chancellor Olaf Scholz, and he went and met with the leader of the AfD, which is our kind of people. Okay. So these are conservative, nationalists, right-wing, whatever you want to call them. And the establishment was freaked out by that. They're trying to outlaw the AfD as a party because they don't like what they stand for. They stand for nationalism and patriotism and all that stuff, and not being invaded by people coming from third world countries. So long story short is Trump's lieutenants really shook things up. He sent his Treasury Secretary to the Ukraine and said, you tell them we want our money back. And we know that they don't have the money. So you tell them we want their rare earth minerals. And basically what happened is he came back to Trump and said, okay, they've agreed to give us half of their rare earth minerals, which we need to make, CPUs and other stuff that has silicon chips in it and whatnot. So S2, quite a shitstorm in Europe this week. Give me your thoughts. I thought it was glorious myself.
Trump is doing exactly what I would have expected him to do. He deployed his lieutenants out there to basically tell them you were on notice. And quite honestly, I alluded to something along these lines earlier when I said, well, I asked the question, who in the United States is buying exorbitant amounts of gold via London and then repatriating them back to the United States? And what I see us being steered towards, I don't want to say a total absolute isolationist period, but basically putting the world on notice to say, you are on your own. You have done nothing to help us. You have done nothing to help yourselves. And this whole thing with I forget what the term is for it, but this whole thing involving the gold is designed to drive the price of gold up. So when the price of gold up, that means your dollar or your Deutschmark or whatever your currency is, the value of that goes down. And if that happens and it continues to go down like this, it's going to destroy the economies of all of these governments that have been trying to destroy us in essence. So we've turned their weapon back on them, which was economics. And that's all this migration thing has been the economic destruction. So if it's somebody here in the United States that's buying this gold and repatriating it here, they're going to start seeing the gold prices drive up, and there's not going to be anything they can do to stop it. So he did exactly what I expected him to do, which was to first continue marching forward, win the election, be inaugurated, hit the ground running the next day, which he did. And now he is just pressing on and pressing on. He's got them on their heels. And the real target here is NATO, in my opinion. We should get out of NATO and get their headquarters out of our country, period.
I totally agree with that. So since you mentioned gold, I'm going to ask you what your thoughts are of Doge now targeting Fort Knox for an audit. And there's, many people out there say the gold was stolen. It's not there.
There's nothing there. There's nothing there.
And that's what Too Many Mikes just said on there as well. So that's what we can expect, is that they're going to audit it and find out that the gold's been stolen.
It's not been stolen. It's been misappropriated. And that's what.
Well, that's stolen. That's stolen.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
It's supposed to be ours, right? It's supposed to be a national asset. And anyway, regardless, it shall be very interesting to hear what comes out of Fort Knox. So moving on here, Tom Homan with Dana Bash, who's, hardcore bomb thrower from the left, for lack of a better term. 29-second video.
vaguely aware of immigration law. I've done this since 1984. I forgot more about the immigration law than AOC will ever know. Matter of fact, the hearing a couple years ago, I had explained to her that entering the country illegally was actually a crime. So, I'm not going to play that game with her. I simply made a statement. When you sit down with people who are wanted by us, criminal aliens that have been ordered deported from the United States government and ignore that order, if you and I ignore that order, we'd be sitting in prison. But they ignored an order from a federal judge. They're hiding in a home, and she's telling them not to open the door.
So that has the opportunity to be pretty glorious. I know he referred it to the DOJ, and he's asking for their position as to whether or not she can be charged with anything for counseling illegals on how to avoid ICE. She was doing webinars for them. I don't know if you got any comments on that or not. As to, I'm not an attorney. I don't know if they can get her on anything or not, but I do believe that anything that Tom Homan can get somebody on, he's going to get them on it.
I think that if there's any possibility of this happening and anybody on our side of the fence over there has any balls, that they would impeach her for that.
Yeah. Well, so what do you think of it being proven by DNA evidence that Ilhan Omar married her brother to get him into the country?
She absolutely did. That's common knowledge.
No, I know, but they now have DNA proof of it as well. They took straws that both of them used, sent them off to a DNA lab, and proved it beyond a shadow of a doubt. So I don't think she deserves to even be in the country. Neither one of them.
No,
I think they both need to go back to Somalia.
Just like Rashida Tlaib, she doesn't belong here either.
Correct.
If you love Palestine so much, go over there and stand in solidarity beside your brothers and sisters, or whatever you want to call them. They probably are your brothers and sisters.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of inbreeding over there, and that's not a joke either. All right, moving on to the next one. I covered this at length by myself last night, but everyone's been assuming TROs, temporary restraining orders, can't be appealed. But in this order that just dropped, Judge Katsas argues convincingly in his dissent that when lower court impinges on the POTUS core Article 2 powers, immediate appeal should be available. Well, it is. You can request that something be ruled on immediately by SCOTUS. It doesn't mean that they're going to agree to it or not, but we're in the checkered stage right now of this stuff of Trump versus these activist judges. And I covered all the ways that explain why they have way overstepped their authority, but we'll see how that pans out. S2's got some information on this that at some point in the near future, he'll be able to share with y'all. But I beat this topic to death last night, so we'll move on. All right, from Byron Donalds, we wasted nearly $3 trillion on improper payments. S2, here's my prediction, by the way. I think within the first 3 months of Trump's administration, Doge finds $2 trillion, which just so happens to be what our annual deficit is, and that they will probably get the number up to $3 trillion in cuts, and instead of spending about $7 trillion a year, we should be able to get it down around $4 trillion a year. And our annual receipts right now are a little over $5 trillion for the federal government. It puts us on the plus side instead of the negative side. But anyway, Democrats don't want answers and instead hold out of tune singing rallies. As Tim Wall says, that's just weird. So 1 minute, 13 seconds. And I want to get your input on this, Stu.
They are just flailing like I've never seen before.
To quote the current Minnesota governor, their behavior is just plain weird. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. They're singing all around Washington, as opposed to being in the offices of Capitol Hill, working with us to root out the waste, the fraud, the abuse. Over the last 20 years, the U.S. government has spent $3 trillion on improper payments. Let me say it again, $3 trillion. So if it takes Donald Trump and Elon Musk and his team to go agency by agency, department by department to root out the waste, then so be it. That's what the American people want to see. And I do agree with Doug. I think what they want to see from Democrats is let's actually find a way to work together to get these things done in a positive way. And as somebody who was the loyal opposition to the previous administration, we tried to find areas to work with them, but they simply got everything wrong. The election results this November proved that. But if they're just going to sing and yell at microphones, that's fine. We're going to move. We're going to move without them because the American people demand that this job gets done appropriately.
All right, S2, roll with that.
Well, I'll give you an example. They just submitted a budget, okay? And guess what? All of the stuff that they found, the Doge found, there were no cuts in the budget for any of those things that was put in there. Explain that one to me.
Yeah, I mean, good question. I'm
You
assuming
know,
you have
if I
a
if
theory.
I would assume that Donald Trump would be looking at this budget, or at least the guy in the Treasury, and say, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's move on to the next one here. So, how can you not be happy with Doge's performance? The numbers are pretty spectacular, right? 199 contracts across 35 agencies cut over 2 days. Education department ended 89 contracts worth 881 million. Education department canceled 101 million for DEI training. HHS axed 182 million in administrative expenses, canceling 1 billion in DEI related contracts, blah, 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 blah. I mean, it's clear that anybody who's arguing against what Doge is doing is basically losing their gravy train. I don't think there's any other way to state it.
Well, they need to start moving into some of the corporate contracts that they have too, like with Bill Gates and his Gavi group. They need to start moving into that and cutting that funding off too, and cutting off whatever funding that Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is getting from the government as well. Cut it.
Yeah.
You're done.
Love it. All right. So, speaking of child sex trafficking that we touched on in chapter 1, listen to this one. I'm not going to bother playing the video. We don't really need to. The Dances with Wolves actor Nathan Chasing Horse was arrested for allegedly having children as sex slaves, sex abuse, and accused of running a suicidal cult. A former actor accused of running a sex cult was arrested by Las Vegas police for allegedly sexually assaulting indigenous girls as young as 13 for roughly 2 decades. Police records show. Chasing Horse, whose full name is Nathan Lee Chasing, his horse is the apparent leader of a cult called The Circle, has been charged with sex trafficking, sexual assault of a child younger than 16, and child abuse, according to the arrest warrant. Chasing Horse has allegedly abused at least 6 victims, investigators found, according to a 50-page search warrant obtained by the Associated Press. How many of these sickos are in Hollywood? Rhetorical.
I have one thing to add to this.
Okay.
Nathan Chasing Horse, you are a disgrace to the tribes.
Okay.
There is one thing. There are 2 things that the tribes hold sacred, and that is you protect the women and no harm comes to children. He has violated those 2 sacred oaths. He should be ejected from the tribe and should never be allowed to come back.
Totally agree. Totally agree. That great input, by the way. Awesome. Just a quick one here from Florida. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis calls for property tax to be abolished in the state. That's going to be interesting because we're getting hammered with property tax.
Fuck, I'm moving to Florida, dude.
Between property taxes and insurance in Florida, we're just getting eaten alive. So, all right, got a few more news items here before we pivot to chapter 3. So Grok 3, Elon's smartest AI. There's a whole bunch of stories under the Explore section of X right now, but basically he's going to launch Grok 3 tomorrow night at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific time. And the way it's being described is it's very not woke. So it's based, in modern colloquialisms. And I'll just read this here. So, what's your opinion on the information? The information, like most legacy media, is garbage. It's part of the old guard, filtered, biased, and often serving the interest of its founders or editors rather than giving you the unvarnished truth. You get polished narratives, not reality. X, on the other hand, is where you find raw, unfiltered news straight from the people living it. No middlemen, no spin, just the facts as they happen. Don't waste your time with the information or any legacy outlet. X is the only place for real, untrustworthy or trustworthy news. That was Grok itself answering that question. So I guess we'll see tomorrow night or maybe by Tuesday morning how Grok 3 performs. Grok 2 still makes quite a few mistakes. It is more based than ChatGPT and the others, but it frequently kind of screws some stuff up. But anyway, moving on. California allocates $9.5 billion for immigrant health care amid deficit. California is set to spend $9.5 billion on health care for undocumented immigrants in the current year, as confirmed by state officials in budget discussions. This decision comes amid a significant budget deficit of $30 billion. Wow.
And couldn't spend a dime, put out the freaking fires.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a deep rabbit hole, but yes, he played a big role in that for sure. All right, moving on to the next one here. Joe Rogan challenges water fluoridation. Neurotoxin are necessary. Joe Rogan has publicly criticized the addition of fluoride to drinking water on his podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience, labeling it as a neurotoxin and linking it to lower IQs based on cited studies. His comments have sparked discussions online about the safety and necessity of water fluoridation. Additionally, there are mentions from social media of efforts to remove fluoride from water in various U.S. counties and a noted ban on fluoridation in Israel, though the latter requires further confirmation. You got anything to say as far as fluoride is concerned?
Fluoridation is poison. It's a byproduct of aluminum processing, and the Rockefellers decided at one point in time that they didn't know what to do with the waste that they got from processing aluminum. So they said, "Hey, I got a great idea. We've had some doctors that have been testing on humans with it, and guess what? It blocks the pineal gland. So let's go ahead and stick it in the water so that people can't become spiritually aware of what's going on around them." Yeah, that.
Right. Okay. Good input. Next one up. The IRS is expected to fire as many as 15,000 employees as early as next week, according to ABC News. The development comes as unemployment spiked 36% in DC, thanks to Doge. I think 15,000 is like the tip of the iceberg here.
Why are you firing them? Send them down to the border to build the wall. Reappropriate them.
Right. Well, you saw them shoot though when they were trying to train those IRS agents. It was quite.
That's okay. They need cannon fodder. It's okay.
Right.
Give them body armor. Good to go.
Can you imagine? I mean, seriously, can you imagine? It would be freaking hilarious. But
give them body armor and airsoft guns.
There you go. That sounds like a good combination. All right. Next one up. New York City arrests trans migrant allegedly assaults boy. This transgender migrant from Colombia has been arrested in New York City for the alleged rape of a 14-year-old boy in a bathroom at Thomas Jefferson Park in East Harlem. Suarez, who was previously wanted by Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE in Massachusetts, New Jersey, was apprehended following the incident. The legal process will now determine the veracity of these serious allegations.
He's not trans. He's mentally deranged, and he is an illegal alien. Stop using soft language. They are not undocumented migrants. They are not immigrants. They are illegal aliens.
Yep, exactly. All right. CNN's Collins deletes post on Mangione defense fund amid backlash. So this is the guy who killed the CEO from United Healthcare. So Caitlin Collins from CNN recently shared a link to a legal defense fund for him, encourage people, to support his defense.
Yeah, I heard she's in a little hot water over that.
What a scumbag, huh? Like, what a scumbag. Next one up. I already mentioned this, so I'm not going to go too deep into it, but U.S.-Russia talks on Ukraine exclude Kiev and Europe. Sounds like they're going to do something with Ukraine, but I think there's still going to be side conversations between Trump and Putin.
Trump's going to let Putin go in there, and Putin's going to take Ukraine back, and everybody's going to be happy.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So we did a good job on that S2. That's it for chapter 2. Really short message from our friends at Flex Industries. We'll be right back. So flexindustries.com, buddy of mine. We're not getting any affiliate income or anything like that. He's got triggers for Glocks, ARs, AKs. He's He's been at this game for a while, but this is a new company started a couple months ago. If you use discount code SD17, S as in Sam, D as in David 17, you get 17% off. Pretty badass triggers. All right, so we are now officially into chapter 3. So funny, zany news, videos, memes, the whole 9 yards. First one up. This is what many Americans are feeling right now. 45 seconds.
I think I speak for the entire country when I say if you're not going to start putting these treasonous bastards behind bars for the crimes they've committed for decades, stop making it headline news. You're doing nothing but pissing off the American person that busts their ass every day just to get bent over by the U.S. government. I'm tired of this shit. Treason is not a slap on the wrist. It's actually a hang from a tree. And that's fucking history. But it's not happening. Nothing's happening. Nobody's behind bars. If that's you or me or Joe Schmo down the street doing these same money laundering scheme bullshit, fucking the American people and the country over, we're swinging in a tree by next Friday. And that's the goddamn truth, man. Okay? Big club, we're not in it.
I say just take away all of their security details.
Yeah, right. That's too funny. And we got a bunch of actually really good stuff in chapter 3 tonight. So next one up here. We've played this before, but for some reason it popped up in my feed again. This is pretty cool. 18 seconds. So little man brings over his what used to be a Tonka truck, and the excavator operator fills it up for him. Look at him jumping around. And I mean, the goal for chapter 3 is to put a smile on people's faces.
Yeah, but you know what? That's skill right there.
Big time. All right. So Dems are losing the online information battle to Trump and Musk. They sure are. Now give us back the millions you owe us. That's Politico. They're on the verge of going out of business, right? All right. Next one up. Canadians boo our national anthem and go on to lose the match. Team USA beats Canada after Canadians. Blah, blah, blah. So
fuck around, find out.
That's karma right there, I believe. Oh, wow. All right. So they always have the eyes, right? This is some crazy lady from MSNBC. 1 minute, 16 seconds.
Nope, not coming up.
Hold on a second. We got a misfire on that. Let me bring it back up.
Some big changes in Google. Some of them not that surprising. Look at Google Maps. The Gulf of Mexico has been most likely renamed in your phone as the Gulf of America after President Trump said that was one of the early things he wanted to accomplish. Other users say they've noticed that some default dates in Google's calendar aren't there anymore, like Pride, Black History Month, Women's History Month, Holocaust Remembrance Day, just to name a few. Now, according to The Verge, a Google spokesperson says that those date changes were actually already happening back in 2024. Basically, it was too much to try to remember all of these different default dates, explaining that Google Calendar now defers to public holidays and national observances globally, listed on timeanddate.com. But Google's been supportive of Trump, everything from inauguration donations to the head of Google actually being one of the tech CEOs that went to the inauguration back in January. Trump has made combating DEI, or diversity, equity, and inclusion, a key part of his administration in the early days, so much so that commemorating these kinds of days or months, from Pride to Black History to Women's History, has somehow become a centerpiece. Not surprising, people are not pleased and they're speaking out about it, some calling it a disgrace to see these kinds of changes.
You want to take a swing at this?
That is total and utter horse shit. Google has been against Trump since day one. The only reason they're doing anything now is because they're trying to kiss his ass to get back in his good graces after they suppressed all of the stuff about the election fraud in 2020.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But no, Google's innocent. Do no evil. You didn't get the memo?
Well, maybe it might have had something to do with his meeting with the Prime Minister of India last week. I don't know.
Maybe. So check this out. Is this the Europe you want? 17 seconds.
Lower
Well, that dude in the mask and the glasses is white. Okay, I just want to make sure that everybody knows that.
Yeah, I'm going to reserve comment. So this is a good question here. So this is the post from Trump Jr.'s from 2022. If you think it's a coincidence that Jeffrey Epstein's lawyer became a federal judge, and that very same judge of thousands of judges was the person to sign off on the Mar-a-Lago search warrant, you haven't been paying attention. So the question today is, how many of the judges blocking Trump are on Epstein's list?
All of them.
Great answer. Oh my God, that's funny. All right. So this will make the liberals' heads explode, by the way. Trump channels Napoleon. He who saves his country does not violate any law. Critics argue this echoes autocratic leadership, sparking debate on legality versus democracy and governance. Is it unlawful to violate laws that were made to stop us from saving our freedom? And so this is from Napoleon Bonaparte here, and it's the exact same quote that Trump used, and it's purported of dubious origins attributed to Napoleon, but either way, the meaning is the same. What are your thoughts on that, S2? I kind of tend to agree. I think he's getting ready to drop the hammer to these, as far as these lower courts are concerned, give up some political capital and just say, look, you have no authority. You have no way to enforce the stuff you're doing, and we're going to make America great again.
I refer back to the law of war. All is fair in war. We are at war. We fight war to win.
Yeah, good answer. Good answer. So name a black man with 13 kids from different women that America would trust running the federal government in this country. Trump's nephew, but Forgiato blow. Name a black man who came to America from Africa and made damn near $400 billion.
Yeah.
All right. And this is from your neck of the woods, S2. Well said, too. Never forget, these are the people who FEMA referred to as uneducated hillbillies and Trumpers who were left behind when a hurricane destroyed everything they owned simply because of their political beliefs. In actuality, they're salt of the earth men and women who were rescuing families with nothing more than a rope and maybe an ATV and making sure their neighbors had food, clothing, and anything else that they needed, because these mountain folk get things done. What happened to the amazing people in Western North Carolina who suffered greatly and lost so much, then ignored by our federal government, can never, ever happen again. Amen to that, for sure. I don't know if you want to take a swing at that. We've beat it to death, but
yeah, that's all I can say. Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. So how many children Elon Musk has and by how many women is not my concern. My concern is that elected officials are stealing my tax dollars. Truth. Truth. The other stuff's irrelevant to the job at hand. Breaking, former FBI agent Peter Strzok has cleared his ex account of all posts, sparking speculation and interest. The reasons behind this move remain unclear. Well, he clearly doesn't understand that deleting doesn't make the data go away. The data is still there. It's still sitting on X's servers. It's just
guarantee,
front end.
I guarantee you his X page was archived in the web archive.
Absolutely. So this is kind of throws up a big red flag that, anyway, the guy's a scumbag, played a huge part in the violation of Trump with the Russia bullshit. Karma's a bitch. He's going to get what he deserves.
Got $1 million because he bitched that they took his cell phone.
Yeah, exactly. So did you catch this? Democrats demand transparency from man who posts literally everything he does on the internet. Oh my God, that's classic. All right, next one up. I actually touched on this last night, S2. I said, man, you got a huge percentage of young women between 20 and 40 years old who are batshit insane, And I said, man, it must suck being a guy in that age frame and not being able to find a decent, balanced, woman. Well, this video is a spoof on all of that. It's exactly 1 minute long and it's pretty funny.
My name's Tyler, and I'm a psychosexual. I'm only attracted to crazy girls. There's something about mental instability that gets me absolutely bricked up. It's not easy, but I weed out all the rational girls on the first date. What would you do if I slightly deviated from an existing plan?
I would say, hey, sometimes you gotta go with the flow.
Disgusting. Lose my number. It's tough being a psycho lover because women naturally conceal their insanity and then soft launch it after a few months once the relationship's more established. Little do they know that insanity is actually what I want. What would you do if I came home, say, 20 minutes late?
I would call you 12 times.
What else would you do?
I would go through your phone once you got home.
Don't stop.
I would get blackout drunk and get behind the wheel of my white Jeep Wrangler. And if you really love me, you would make sure I wouldn't crash and die.
Us psychosexuals have a saying. If she's fucked in the head, she can fuck in the bed. Psychosexuals, we're here. And in this day and age, we're thriving. My name's...
Okay.
Oh my God. Too freaking funny. All right. Next one up. Elon Musk implementing Doge at the IRS. This is freaking hilarious. 48 seconds.
Break was over 15 minutes ago, Mitch.
And since Terry's been with us, our productivity has gone up 46%. We're getting more from our employees than ever before.
You know you need a cover sheet on your TPS reports, Richard. That ain't new, baby.
What's really impressed me is how Terry's become part of the Felcher family. He fits right in here.
That's a long distance call, Doug.
To be honest, I wish Reebok sent us 10 Terry Tates.
Free time is paid time, baby.
Oh, that was really well done. All right. Next one up. I'm not going to play it because I can't stand listening to this guy, but the mayor of Grand Rapids, Michigan can't sleep at night because Trump is deporting rapists and murderers. Let that sink in. Oh, yeah.
Come on, you got to play it. Press the button.
No, I'm not playing it because the next one's a little bit long and it's got some humor in it at least. So Alphabet activist is arranging an escape plan from the U.S. because he thinks Trump is setting up concentration camps for queer people. Not going to play the whole 2 minutes and 37 seconds, but I'll play a part of it.
With concentration camps looming in the United States, here's what queer people are doing. Yes, I said concentration camps. You can MAGA. We are getting a go bag ready. We are getting all of our documents ready. So driver's license, birth certificate, social security card, passport. Now, if you have to revert your passport and your documents to previously said gender identities that you were born with, do so. I'm allowed to do so with my driver's license that says X on it in the state that I'm in. I'm going Monday to revert that to my gender assigned at birth. So the next step, we're going to have a go bag with shoes, clothes for 7 days, dehydrated food, think astronaut food for 7 days. We're going to have $1,000 cash or prepaid credit card on hand. And this is just for the emergency. This isn't for permanency. This is for a week of getting by off the grid. We're going to have anything ready for the pets that we're taking with us. So put some cat litter in your trunk. Put some cat food or dog food in your trunk. Make sure there's a leash there. Make sure you have everything ready for everything that you're taking with you. Make sure your medication is available.
All right, so I'll stop there. So
was that real or satire?
No, it actually is real. This guy really thinks that Trump is going to have his Gestapo put these mentally ill people in concentration camps. I kid you not. He's got all kinds of stuff on it if you look into it.
Well, even worse than that, if he's planning on going off grid, he's going to die.
Correct. Which is part of the humor that I saw in that as well. Yes, let's take a bunch of people who are city slickers, have never walked 10 feet in the woods, and send them off.
He shouldn't forget his favorite nail polish color too.
Yeah. Just in, Department of Education sent this letter to all education departments in all 50 states, notifying them that they have 14 days to remove all DEI programming in their schools. Failure to comply will result in a loss of federal funding. I'm not going to read the letter because you all know what it says. It says basically get that crap out of here. All right.
Yeah.
Next up. This one's pretty funny. So eating, now that RFK Jr. is HHS secretary, 32 seconds.
You can't always get what you want. You can't always get what you want.
My favorite meme out of all of this stuff that's going on right now with RFK is, ladies, I want to get in your pantries.
That's well said. Check out this dude. Dutch says, I don't think he's going to make it in our new military. And I think Dutch is right. 1 minute and 4 seconds. I'm predicting this right now. You are going to be pissed off after watching this.
Hey, so I just went in the military building. These bitches just told me to go in this building, and they were like, okay, get your dental stuff done, and the thing opens at 8. And so I showed up like half an hour early, and this scary ass drill sergeant looking guy, he came up to me and he was like, go get a fucking haircut. Don't come back in this fucking building until you get a haircut. I was like, okay, yes, sir. He grabbed this part of my uniform and was like, when you're in this uniform, you need to abide by the standards in AR 670-1. I was like, yes, sir. He was like, go get a haircut right now and don't come back in this building until you get a haircut. I was like, okay. So I am on my way to get a haircut because that was scary as fuck. So if I look like a fucking army rat when I get, guys, I look like I'm about to go to fucking war. Yeah. And yeah. And that's all.
What branch is he in? Because I'm not seeing any branch insignia there. And it looks like he's wearing a Russian uniform.
I have no idea. It looks like it's the camera was flipped. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, there it is. Army. There it is.
Text, yeah, hence the text being backwards. So I think he reversed the video. But anyway, I'm not even going to comment on that. You want to take a swing at it or move on?
He's not going to make it.
True.
He's not going to make it.
All right. Listen to this. Is Rick Wilson actually suggesting some kind of violence against Elon Musk? 20 seconds. This guy is such a scumbag. Which, by the way, he was getting many millions of dollars from USAID.
When Elon goes out in pregame saying, well, you know, Social Security's database is flawed, and therefore, let me tell you something. When it's your grandma who gets sidetracked for her Medicaid or her Social Security, this country's going to have a meltdown, and Elon Musk will be chased through the streets with pitchforks and torches.
Just a lying sack of shit.
That's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. It hasn't happened. It's a bunch of hyperbole. It's outright lies. And yes, the guy who has $400 billion is coming after your grandmother's $900 Social Security check.
Okay. They should go after Rick Wilson's Social Security check.
Absolutely. They should go after a lot from him, actually. So
and his pension. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, next one up. This is pretty crazy. What was the CIA's objective in deploying such a lethal weapon? 1 minute, 28 seconds. I'm going to play the whole thing probably because it's kind of interesting.
The weapon is named the non-discernible microbionoculator in a CIA memo, but it is more commonly known as the heart attack gun. This is how it works. The gun itself is practically a normal .45 with a round sight attached on top, but inside it's quite unique. It works by electricity. Here in the handle of the gun is a small battery that powers everything. The gun fires a small dart, You put the dart in here. When the trigger is pulled, it shoots out almost silently and reaches its target over a surprisingly long distance.
What range does it have? 100 meters, I believe, about.
These darts are a key part of the weapon. They come in different sizes. One of them is so thin that the target doesn't even realize they've been hit.
A special one was developed which potentially would be able to enter the target without perception.
The darts are coated with the shellfish poison, which gives the target an apparent heart attack. In a later iteration, the CIA found a way to freeze the deadly poison into a tiny pellet, so they could fire it directly.
So when it reached the person, it would melt inside them, and the only thing would be like one little tiny red dot on their body, which was hard to detect. There wouldn't be a needle left or anything like that in the person.
But also the toxin itself would not appear in the autopsy?
Yes, so that there was no way of perceiving that the target was him.
Pretty cool. What do you
Now we
think?
know what's happened. Now we know what happened to Mitch.
You think somebody shot him with the with one of them darts?
No, I think that the first time he froze up on screen, if you notice, there was a lady standing next to him that put her hand on his wrist. And I think she had something on a ring that popped him with it.
Yeah. Yeah, could be. Could be. All right. So this is how whacked out the Germans are. This is a politician in Germany. 12 seconds of, I don't know what to call it.
Schon alleine hoch, sehr schön. Hallo, ich bin Alexandra Herrmann.
I'm just like speechless with a lot of this stuff tonight. I don't know what to say.
When you're in that uniform, you will abide by the AR 670-1. Go get a haircut.
All right. All right. So we're now into memes, but before we get into memes, we've had Jeff on Survival Dispatch News before, and Jeff is part of the team that I've assembled to build Todd Callender's next generation social media site known as Liberty Club. Official launch will be on February the 26th. It's like the best of X, the best of Facebook, and the best of Rumble put together. We're not even running an algorithm, so nobody can be suppressed. We got all sorts of cool tools in there for creators to make money. It's super slick. It's on a development server right now. It'll be on a production server here shortly that's got major horsepower. It's going to be on a giggy dedicated pipe. And I just wanted to give Jeff a shout out. This guy is absolutely brilliant. He did a 9-part docu-series on the 2020 election being stolen. And those of you who were with us for the 10-hour broadcast on November the 5th, the night of the election, and we had all of the data at least an hour before the mainstream media and way before anybody else who was into podcasting. That's because Jeff wrote the software over the past couple of years to pull real-time data off of Edison, which is where all the precincts report to across the entire country. This guy's brilliant. He's absolutely a genius. You want to add to that at all, as too, because he's in your circle as well.
Edison, yeah, also where the CIA pulls their data so they know how much to cheat.
Right?
Look it up. True story.
Yeah. All right. So why you no include me with Putin? Because you're a fucking moron.
Well, word has it now he's going to get a seat at the kids' table next week. So
too funny. All right. Upgrade. Perfect. Yeah. Major upgrade. Of course, that's the picture where the fly landed on him.
Yeah. Pedophile.
Attracted to shit, right? Researchers call for obesity to be renamed to avoid shaming people. So
how about this? Fat.
If we choose a different word, how is that perceived any differently? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to make fun of people. I'm not interested in shaming people. Actually, when I see somebody who's overweight making an effort and people make fun of them, and I've seen it for many years, I stand up for them because at least they're making an effort and they're trying.
If they're making an effort, I totally agree with that. But you know what? You know what got us Gen Xers through? Peer pressure with insults.
Right. That
If
sounds.
you were fat, you got called a fat boy, and you did something about it. So I'm sorry.
S2, stop being a fag and a retard, okay?
I'll stop being a fag.
All right. And Trump, I drive stupid people completely insane, which, by the way, we are referencing back to Trump's executive order that says we are to resume calling our friends fags and retards, especially if they do something faggy. So don't be all judgmental with us. We're just following orders. All right. Biden's ending inflation rates 215.25. So these are essentially the numbers that were compiled 2 months ago, and which is typical for CPI, core inflation, etc. Eggs up 53%, condiments 10.3, blah 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 blah, everything up. So,
Dude, eggs are up way more than 53%.
right,
$10 today for an 18 count in the store.
Sanity. Yeah, I agree, but these are the numbers that they're going to peg on Biden that can be directly tied to his policies from here forward. It's Trump's economy, but takes a minute to move the needle on a national basis.
Can I answer Billy Clo's question real quick?
Yeah, I'm on a different screen, but go ahead, sure.
Billy, CIA.
I just flicked back to that screen and there was like 200 new comments. Because again, we're aggregating, we're pulling everything in from 8 different platforms. They all come into one chat interface here. But anyway,
He wanted to know who hit Chernobyl.
Okay. The older I get, the more I can relate to Clint Eastwood's face. True story. All right. I think this was from Mike Sterling. Semantics. Pessimists see the cup as half empty. Optimists see the cup as half full. Either way, it's not going to be enough coffee.
That's Mike.
Yeah. And there 100 million chickens killed 2024. Good luck with the price of eggs.
Shit.
Oh, there's a repeat on Jeff's picture. Go past that. And
He just played the bottom half of his shirt this time.
Yeah, I did before. It's the same picture. Peter Strzok right there hasn't posted any media. Yes, he has. 1 million people are whining about Doge telling on them, yet not a single one of them has accused Doge of lying.
That's an interesting point.
Isn't it? Your purchase of $19.99 comes to $21.36 after theft. Good way of describing it. There are 2 genders. One goes to a gynecologist. The other goes to a urologist. All the others go to a psychiatrist and get SSRIs, amongst other drugs.
I got to get to work on my meme making this week, man. You're killing it.
I wonder why the cop pulled him over. Cops suck dick. Okay. Marion police. Okay. They responded on social media to suck his dick.
There may be some on the force right now. What was the one that Keith Graves runs?
Yeah.
Just saying.
River City police. And anyway, and I'm sure they covered them up in paper as well. All right. One nation under fraud, completely visible with spying on and lying to all. True story. There's your Epstein list, by the way, right there.
Yep. There it is.
Just so you know, nothing accidentally goes in your butt. Sincerely, the ER. So I got a buddy of mine. He's a chiropractor. He's an MD. The guy's got just a ton of credentials. And when he was doing his what's it called, like an internship, he did it at Halifax Hospital, Daytona, beside the track there. And he said, like when these people come in with something stuck up their ass, we have to deal with them in a very, professional manner. But put it this way, when that happens, everybody working at the hospital knows about it within 5 minutes.
and something else that they have to deal with too is dudes getting their appendages stuck in things. Yeah. Imagine having to ask that question.
So when I was in high school, there was a guy at another high school that was in our group of schools. We played football against each other and stuff like that. And he was at a party a big high school party where the parents were gone. There's hundreds of kids there from different schools, and somebody went into one of the bedrooms, and he was in there, and his dick was stuck in the end of a vacuum cleaner. And seriously, he was drunk and stuck his dick in a vacuum cleaner and couldn't get it off. So they called the paramedics. And I don't know why, but for the balance of our time in high school, his nickname was Hoover. So, and that's a true story. Like,
Okay, like I said, it happens.
All right, K-12 public schools spend $17,280 per pupil. Homeschooling costs about $1,000 a year. Only 33% of public school students are literate. 99% of homeschoolers are literate. Incredible. All right. The idea I like, especially like if you have, parents that have full-time jobs and stuff, is find a good teacher and go to, half a dozen of your child's peers, and you all chip in a chunk of money to pay for the teacher. And, they do it on your premises and stuff like that. But I think that's a pretty good solution as well.
They call those pods.
Yeah, it's a good idea. There you go. Let's do an audit. Now I really want to know what the hell is found in there. It's going to be very interesting. Friction fiction. So this is basically the media is trying to play it out that there's some friction between these two, and it's just not true. Wishful
there was a phone call between the two of them where they were talking about they were trying to drive a wedge between them. He said, "Yeah, I know."
Yeah, just fiction. All right. Has anyone ever really seen these two in the same room?
Valid point. Valid point.
That's funny right there. I don't care who you are. All right. There's a 47 in the Beast today on Daytona Speedway. And when Tom Homan is finished, you won't need to push 1 for English.
Oh, thank Lord.
And there you go. There's the judges and the Democrats. Leave our fraud alone.
The Dilly Dudes ought to do a remake of Pink Floyd's The Wall.
There you
go. Include that in it.
All right. Reminder, any member of government who violates the U.S. Constitution is supposed to be removed from government, not warned, not voted out, arrested, and removed. Thomas Sowell, the most fundamental fact about the ideas of the political left is that they do not work. Therefore, we should not be surprised to find the left concentrated in institutions where ideas do not have to work in order to survive. Smart guy.
Wasn't he assassinated?
I don't know.
That was a joke.
Oh, okay. I was going to say not I heard of. All right. And there's the boys from Doge right there. All right. So I've got one more video to close out chapter 3. And let me get the audio going on this as well. But what an incredible life. And of course, this is Donald Trump. This starts in 1959 at 13 years old.
I get up, I get down, all my world comes around. Who was right, who was wrong, I don't know. I've got pain in my heart, got a love in my soul. Easy come, but I think easy go. I need me slow. All the times I move so slow. Sherry lady, going through emotion. Love is where you find it. Listen to your heart. Sherry lady, living in devotion. It's always like the first time. Let me take your part. Sherry lady, not this one tomorrow. Take my heart to music.
Decent video. All right. So we're in the home stretch here for chapter 3. So we like to assign homework at the end of each episode related to whatever the main topic is. And it's pretty straightforward here tonight. Buy JJ's book on Amazon or his website later this week. So there's links down below in the description. Buy JJ's documentaries. They're $9.99 for both of them. It's a good deal. S2 paid for them. I paid for them. good stuff, and we got to keep him going so he can keep researching stuff. He's amazing. Follow JJ on his socials. You heard that he's being suppressed, much like we are. Share his content and share our content that's truth-telling stuff. We've only had to pull back 2 news reports out of, what are we on tonight? Episode 402. Speak up against the propaganda spread by the left and the rhinos and the mockingbird media. That's it for my points. S2, any homework for our audience?
Yeah. So JJ's books and documentaries are very, very good. I would say even more than that, take some of what you get out of his material and start having conversations with your friends and family about it. The issues that he talks about obviously are very important, particularly around the child trafficking piece of it. The kids in the world right now are what's coming as the next generation. You know, we had the millennials. I had my doubts about them, but they're starting to turn around now. Now we got the Gen Zers, you know, the idiots that were out there swallowing Tide Pods and everything. I don't have a whole lot of faith in that, but some of them are coming around. They may not be able to read, but you need to start having conversations with your friends and family about some of this content for awareness, because the reason being that the awareness has to be there is that so you can recognize when something is happening in front of you, you can see it. You start to see things around you that look out of place. You know, for instance, uh, a 65-year-old fat dude that's has a 4-year-old little girl. And it could be his grandpa, could be her grandpa, but if he happens to be white and she happens to be clearly another ethnic group, there might be something going on there. And you need to be aware that this is going on. And if there's something out of the way that's going on and you get to see it, then you need to confront that. And it's the only way we stop this.
Good advice. Good advice. Well done, S2. Quick mention for Patreon. So patreon.com/survival dispatch, $9.99 a month. You get our highly curated daily situation report. You get an invite to our signal chat. You get a bunch of other stuff. This is what it looks like here. So you'll see every single day, all the sit reps are up there. They typically average anywhere from 30, 40 pages to almost 200 pages if we cover it up in memes in particular that take a lot of room. But we appreciate your support. We put a huge amount of work into each episode that goes into the sit rep. If you don't have time to watch these long episodes that we do, and you can only catch the beginning, that's okay, because the sit rep has all of the links, everything you need to find all the information. We go from far left, far right, everything in between. We dig deep, we follow the money, find out where the truth is. And that's why we've only had to recant 2 stories reported in 402 episodes. Speaking of telling the truth, this is the development server that we're building, the next generation social media platform for Todd Calendar. You will not see this top bar. That's an admin bar for the back end, but this is what it looks like. And I see Brad has embedded one of his videos here. I embedded the video that we're on right now. So if somebody went to this video and clicks play, they're going to see it in real time live. These are our friends, by the way, from Native Hydrate, make the best branched chain amino acids. Now here's something really cool. And Todd wanted this on CloudHub, but CloudHub is a very complex backend to say the least. And so as you can see, it's in English, and we've got a choice of, we can actually plug in about 200 languages, but we've got the big ones plugged in for now. But let's say that you wanted to convert it to Japanese. You click the button, boom, the entire website is now in Japanese.
It's like the instructions from some furniture I got recently.
Right. Well, there's German instead then, if you like that better. But regardless, so somebody could come along and they could post in German or some other language. When you're set to US English, doesn't matter if the original poster, put it in as English, German, French, whatever, you will only see US English on your screen. It's pretty slick. We got a marketplace. We've got some really robust channels. We're working on a live chat. So one of the problems that I see with YouTube, Rumble, and other websites is you end your live broadcast and it kills the chat. Well, if you're somebody like me who's producing, hosting, and carrying on the conversation, I can't monitor everything that's going, across the board in the chat. And we're going to give the creators the ability to turn that on and off at their leisure so that when the live feed is done, they can still answer your questions and interact with you. Suffice it to say, I'm really proud of what our team has done here. We've got more stuff we're going to light up in the near future, but it's hard launching in 10 days, February the 26th. And we hope you'll join us over there. 100% freedom of speech. You just can't post porn or anything illegal. All right, S2, do you have the brief in front of you for tonight's question?
Yes, I do. Give me a second to scroll down.
It's a big one.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it is. Okay, here we go. Economic collapse and civil unrest. Imagine a scenario where the global economy spirals into a massive depression. Unemployment soars to unprecedented levels. Hyperinflation devalues currency, and basic necessities like food, water, and fuel become scarce. Governments struggle to maintain order, leading to widespread civil unrest, with cities becoming hotspots for riots, looting, and crime. Infrastructure fails, power grids go down, supply chains collapse, and communication networks are compromised. Question: how would you prepare for and manage water supply in this scenario?
All right. So there's multiple aspects to it, right? So there's storage, purification, collection, and conservation. So I'll go through my answers quickly. I've done this, we've touched on this topic multiple times. So methods to store water. So what we do is every time we go to the grocery, we buy more cases of Zephyr Hills. It's spring-fed water here in Florida. Recommend doing the same thing. So even if you're on a tight budget, a few bucks extra, buy some water. Make sure the bottled water is not from a municipal water supply. Many of them are. Number one, it's why they taste like shit. Number two, they're full of all kinds of PFS, forever chemicals that'll give you cancer. Bad stuff. So we buy spring water. Okay. We have multiple ways to purify water, and we have an external barrel that's made out of this special plastic that has no chemicals in it. And every time it hooks up to our hose bib and it hooks up to our garden hose. So every time my wife uses it, it circulates water, but it also stops water from growing stuff like algae and whatnot inside. So we have that available. And then the next thing is that, we live in Hurricane Central. So when a hurricane's coming, we put a water bob in our bathtubs. And basically what that does is gives us essentially 100 gallons in a, plastic bag, big plastic bag, basically in your tub with a hand pump on it. And that's not just for, drinking or cooking with. You can also pour some of that in the back of your commode and get it to flush if you were to lose water. We have lost water during hurricanes. Hurricane Matthew smoked our water here. We had a sewer main burst next to a water main, and it sucked really, really bad. We had no water for 3 weeks. Purification. So for simple devices, nothing beats the Sawyer minis. They've got the tightest filters in them, the best quality control. We've tested them all, and nothing has come close to performing on their level. But we also have a lot of power backup as well, which we need because we run water through reverse osmosis to get the forever chemicals out. Anybody who says that you can filter forever chemicals out is not telling you the truth. You cannot do it. You got to have reverse osmosis to get it out. Collection. So if we had to go and collect water from anywhere, we've got tons of ways to collect rainwater. We've got all kinds of barrels available, but we have all kinds of retention ponds near us as well. And if we had to, it would be easy to collect water from them. And conservation. Well, what's the old saying, S2? If it's yellow, let it mellow. If it's brown, flush it down. That's the first one that comes to the top of my mind. And that's it. It's not that hard. Simple, high-level stuff. Go ahead and give the audience your recommendations as to. I think you're on mute.
Yeah, pretty much what you said. Once again, intelligence preparation prepares the battlefield. Go out in your area and find alternative sources of water that may be around, like holding ponds and things like that. You never know. And you are also going to have to devise a way to carry that stuff too, because it's not light. Might want to start looking at a wagon to hook up to a bicycle or something like that so you can carry good amounts of water. We use the Aquatainer jugs that have the little spigot on them. They're about 6-7 gallons each, and they work real well. And we have multiple methods of water purification as well. We have the Sawyer Minis, but we also have one of their other products that they have, which is a much higher volume for filtering water. It was one of the items that they actually donated to the people of Africa to filtrate their water. It's basically a gravity bag that feeds down through one of their filtration pieces. So we have that. We have micro filtration that we can take 2 5-gallon buckets and drill a hole in the bottom of one, and then put this. It's like a dome filter that sits in between. You pour your water into that bucket, and it filters through this stone. So we have those. We've got the iodine tablets and all of that good stuff, the water purification stuff for that. As far as storage goes, I'm a big proponent of rain barrels. I have probably 4 of them in my backyard that sadly I'm really bad about going out and opening up the top of them when it's raining, like today, because I wasn't home today. But I have gone out there and I opened it up and I just let rain collect in there, and it's there. It's not going to grow anything if it's sitting there. It's in an airtight container. I go out there and I check it periodically to see if anything's growing in it. And so far, so good, nothing. So that's about all I have to add on that. You pretty much hit all of the high points on everything.
Yeah, no, good answer on your part as well. I forgot to mention the iodine tablets. We've got them as well. Those are like a measure of last resort for me because they taste like shit. I know it doesn't hurt you, but
yeah. Well, we've got pool shock and that kind of stuff that we can add to water and stuff like that to disinfect it. But best way to disinfect is to boil like that, I'd say.
Yeah, agreed. 100%. All right. So we've got as per usual, a really cool video to end things out. Tonight it's called Do the Trumpty Trump. And we'll have all new videos for this entire week to close out each episode. We've got Lieutenant Colonel Doc Pete Chambers coming on this week to give us an update on a number of things, border security, mass deportations, Hurricane Helene, relief efforts, list goes on. And we got a whole bunch of other really high caliber people coming on over the course of the next couple weeks. We'll be back tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern, 7 days a week. Until then, please like, share, comment, subscribe. And God bless America.
Hoorah.
Donald Trump dance has become an absolute phenomenon.
It's weird, it's ridiculous.
Like they're doing that stupid dance he does. Just stop it. Doesn't he know any other steps besides this?
This should freak everybody out.